So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus platform, you can easily incorporate robust capabilities. And if the data is sensitive, no problem. Globus can be used to manage protected data. With Globus, you can easily share your data without having to move it or copy it. With Globus, subscribers can easily move and share. And if you have any more questions about Globus, visit Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Many thousands face the same challenges every day and solve them with Globus. So what's Globus? So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus platform, you can easily incorporate robust capabilities. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. And if the data is sensitive, no problem. Globus can be used to manage protected data. With Globus, you can easily share your data without having to move it or copy it. With Globus, subscribers can easily move and share. And if you have any more questions about Globus, visit Globus. So how can you get started using Globus? Anyone can use Globus right now for free to transfer files between Globus-enabled systems. So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus platform, you can easily incorporate robust capabilities. And if the data is sensitive, no problem. Globus can be used to manage protected data. With Globus, you can easily share your data without having to move it or copy it. With Globus, subscribers can easily move and share. And if you have any more questions about Globus, visit Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Many thousands face the same challenges every day and solve them with Globus. So what's Globus? So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus platform, you can easily incorporate robust capabilities. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus.
Yo. Why is my mic so quiet? Yo. There we go. Yo. 777. All right, we're good. What up, though? All right, so today is going to be short on news. Only got a couple few things to look at there. A little bit of Twitter. Then gonna do the Babel Spanish lesson starting from 0. And then the rest of the day's news and we get video, and we got a variety of different lengths of videos. So, like a bunch of shorter stuff, and that'll be it. That'll be it. So I think we're gonna start off with Twitter. Couple few things I bookmarked. Okay. Yeah, 4 things. Let's get at it. Yeah. Oh, August 21st. Maybe I covered this. If I didn't, it'll be quick. It's about a minute. Will intelligence increases yield diminishing returns? No, they'll be consistently high returns. AI fact. We seem to be at the steep part of the S curve of unknown size. Maybe we did cover this, but it'll be quick.
My basic argument with intelligence is that you're going to get diminishing returns. This is a conjecture, but like if you didn't get diminishing returns from intelligence, you don't think evolution could have stumbled upon brains that were 4 times bigger?
So what you're seeing when you look at the evolutionary record is the marks of increasing returns. Until we got to humans, when we were just messing around with other animals, it didn't realize that there was this basin of attraction where once you unlock general thinking, reflective thinking, whatever secret sauce humans have, once you unlock that, you do get a cascade. And that's what we've seen in like the last million years. If you look at the evolution of the human brain, you're getting a lot of cognitive returns for very small genetic modifications.
Sure. So for a long time, like you can think about the optimization landscape, we're moving along a plateau and then we find a great gradient and we exploit that gradient, right?
Right, and the gradient still seems steep. It was stopped in its tracks by, for example, that the head needs to fit out of the pelvis, among other reasons. It stopped it in its tracks, but there was room to keep growing. And we're about to, reestablish that kind of curve when we train the next models.
Okay, yeah, we did watch that. I remember the head out of the pelvis. What up, Mill? Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Yeah, so like just to recap, the size of the human brain at birth has to be able to fit out of the pelvis, and I'm just gonna close that window because I know it gives Alina anxiety, and they show up. I don't want them having anxiety. Um, the um, the other thing, like your brain is like whatever happens with your brain through the course of genetics, it's only going to get to a specific size, and there's nothing you can do about that. You can't like I feel like there was a science fiction horror movie about that where like they would take other brain and like strap it onto their brain and make more brain. You can't do that. You can do that with computers. Like theoretically you can strap an infinite amount of compute to one computer and just make it bigger and bigger and bigger. So um yeah, so this video, I thought that this was really cool. The curation of historical artifacts will become a cottage. Thank you, Elon. The curation of historical artifacts will become a cottage industry as we all share our perspectives from our object captures. Ancient history will be forever changed as more folks can see what was only possible to appreciate in person. I don't know if ancient history, like, I don't know if this is a translation issue or what, but like, this is not how I would have phrased it. The big brain moments can just be hopes and dreams for some people. I mean, like, that's like, I'm talking about physical capacity, not like enlightenment, right? But watch this. Watch this video. This is wild. I know. Your breath stinks. This is currently available, right? This is available right now. You walk around the thing and it captures the thing, and now you have like a copy of the thing. Think about how this is going to change the way that teaching, right? Like people sharing collections of captured items um from around the world, and you can just go and you can make it look bigger. You can bring it right in the classroom with some VR. Oh, okay. Just Chatterino freaking out. Good job, Chatterino. Anyways, so you would be able to bring this into your classroom, into your home. You can use VR or AR. Use your phone, but like VR would be even better. And then you could walk around it. You could make it bigger if you wanted to look at a particular piece of detail. Like they do. Make it big. Yeah. Right? You can look at a particular piece of detail and British Museum. You could capture stuff and keep it in the museum and return the original items back to the people that it actually belongs to. Thanks, Elon. So yeah, like it's like the assets for a game like City Skylines or one of those kind of things, but real, you know. Yeah, Chatterino is freaking out. Having an issue with the server. But everything looks good on the OBS end. All right, Stability AI, which is known for some of the models for creating visual art, has created Stable Audio, first AI product for music and sound generation. You can try it for free. It's Stable Audio. Let's take a look at what that looks like. We're seeing a lot of traffic. Of course you are. Create custom length music just by describing it, powered by the latest audio diffusion models. Generate and download audio in 44.1 kilohertz. Use the music you create with Stable Audio in your commercial products. And free, you can do up to 20. If you go with professional at $12, you can do 500. And then there's enterprise, where you got to call in and talk to a salesperson. Free is available if you are doing non-commercial products. So like generally you and I, if you want to do commercial projects, you got to get a license. Let's take a look at what they've got here. This is, according to the website, Trance Ibiza Beach, Sun 4 a.m., progressive synthesizer 909, dramatic chords, choir, euphoric, nostalgic, dynamic, and flowing. Okay, yeah, I fuck with that. Oh, I always knew that AI, when it came to AI music, it was going to come for the EDM first. Whenever I see augmented reality, it always reminds me of Walmart or Target doing that. Hey, you want to see this couch you've been looking for in your place? Check it out. Yeah, and Amazon has that too. Like, if you get something from Amazon, you can look at it in your home or whatever. And yeah, like that's you. I feel like you would want that. I'd fuck with it. No, that's true. See what else we got. Synth pop, it's kind of the same. Post rock, here we go. Post rock, guitars, drum kit, bass, strings, euphoric, uplifting, moody, flowing, raw, epic, sentimental, and 125 BPMs. Devil? That sounded like a lot occupying occupying the same space. So I don't know how I feel about that one. Ambient techno, there we go. Warm soft hug. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like everything just seemed to be happening at the same time. And it's important like in the process of creating music, like everything needs its place. Some stuff is in the back, you know, like your bass, maybe your drums, depending on what kind of music you're doing, and then you have melodies you know, created by like guitars or synth or whatever that are, you know, more in the front, you know, and there's a division of when sounds happen, and that just seemed like an onslaught of music. Warm soft hug. Let's give this a run. It's okay. It sounds like what I expected it to sound like. Lo-fi hip hop. Let's. A little aggressive for lo-fi hip hop. Yeah. Let's see. All right. You want me to sign in and sign up. So we won't be doing that now. You know, not bad. Like some of it I thought was like the first one I liked a lot. The as it went on though, there was definitely some mid, but it's brand new. We'll see if it gets better. We'll see if it gets any traction. Yeah, exactly. Like there is something else. You know what I mean? Like there are elements that you have to get into. And finally, Chris Castanova, who I follow on Twitter, made a video game. It is, if you remember Space Invaders, there's a simple video game, but they made it using Adobe Firefly, ChatGPT, and Open Processing, right? Like they did the code with ChatGPT and Open Processing, and then Adobe Firefly for the game assets. So yeah, like admittedly, like it's a very simple game. We had Space Invaders in the arcade back in the early '80s, and then with the Atari 2600, it was available and like that. So that was, the game itself is, a classic, an old one, however you want to look at it. But you can see that like that didn't take a lot of time in order to create the thing. Now you spend your time on making it like more dynamic, more interesting, more engaging. And you could create this without knowing how to code, without knowing how to create art. Right? If you have an idea for a video game, you played enough video games, you have something that like you think that at the very least you would enjoy, and then the idea that other people might enjoy it, and now you can create it and then put it out there and see what, run out the flagpole, see who salutes. Yeah. No, that sounds great. All right, news. Only 3 articles today. DNA chips, the billion gigabyte storage solution of tomorrow. In the form of DNA. Oh, let me get the music back. Oh, you know that the background music comes from Spotify. And like I didn't use Spotify has an AI DJ, and like I create my own playlists, or if I do a search for like 70s guitar rock, then I get a nice selection. I listen to that. So it's like, what does an AI DJ possibly? What up, Miss Frizzle? I did. We'll get right back to that in just a second. Stay with me. What could the AI DJ possibly bring to the table? And my son got me to try it, and I fired it up while I was driving, and like it's just coincidence. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to give it too much credit, right? But when the songs come on the radio and they are just like they're some of your favorite bangers, and you're like, while you're driving, it found those, right? Like it did go get them and play them. And what it does is it plays a few songs and then switches up the vibe. And that's what it does different from creating a playlist. If I create a playlist, or if I search for a playlist of 70s guitar rock, that's all I'm going to get. But if you run the AI DJ, you end up getting like it was playing songs that had like similar vibes that weren't necessarily like the same music. You know what I mean? Like there are songs from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and today that have a similar vibe, right? If you're into music, you know what I'm talking about. And like they can go together even though they're from different eras. And I like the AI DJ. I don't know if I'm going to use it a lot or a little, but something to like be able to group together songs in like an ascending or descending BPM pattern to carry a vibe. And that's what I would like to see, right? Like I would like to see the AI be like, a little more responsive, right? Like, I would like this kind of thing, and then it does the work of finding the songs and playing them for me. And initially when you fire it up, it's like, hey, I'm your AI DJ and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to do, and you can skip, right? And I skipped it, and then it played some songs and they were cool. It hit me off with Twins, which is the Big Pun and fuck. I'm disrespecting the man. Yeah, Big Pun and Fat Joe. It's like their version of Deep Cover by Snoop and Dre, and it was good, right? Like I enjoyed that and vibed with it for a minute, and he played a couple other songs. I like listened to some, skipped others, came back on doing his DJ shtick. I skipped him, hit me off with some other music like that, and I don't know if it was just part of the process or if it happened because I was skipping him. He started keeping his interruptions much shorter. Ferris, I need my hands. He started keeping his interruptions much shorter. So that could be learning or it could be coincidence. And so I like to build potential sets. It would be nice to find the songs and then be able to reduce the workload a little bit. Yeah, like go find the thing. SoundCloud does have an impeccable algorithm with their sounds. The auto-generated playlist based on your most played songs is scarily good. Yeah, this is one of the things is why I might want to put more effort into using the DJ in order to like see if I can train it, right? Like, is this just an algorithm situation with voice attached? And like the voice is good and it was relevant. Like it named songs that it was going to play, that kind of thing. It was relevant. But I didn't know, like I don't know enough about it. So I feel like an obligation to work with it to see what I come up with, right? Like in the same way, like my Twitter feed, my Facebook, my social media is curated. I put in the effort to get the results that I want, and I have. And I'm wondering if I could do that with the AI DJ. I need my hands, Ferris. He is all up in my business. All right, DNA. In the form of DNA, nature shows how data can be stored in a space-saving and long-term manner. Wurzburg's chair of bioinformatics is developing DNA chips for computer technology. This comes up in a lot of the books about future AI. Like DNA is very good at storing information in a stable platform. DNA for a good 10 years. I can imagine. For a good 10 years, scientists have therefore been pursuing the goal of developing DNA chips for computer technology, especially for the long-term archiving of data. Such chips would be superior to conventional silicon-based chips in terms of storage density, longevity, and sustainability. 4 reoccurring basic building blocks are found in a DNA strand. A specific sequence of these blocks can be used to encode information, just as nature does. To build a DNA chip, the correspondingly coded DNA must be synthesized and stabilized. If this works well, the information is preserved for a very long time. Researchers assume several thousand years. The information can be retrieved by automatically reading out and decoding the sequence of the 4 basic building blocks. Yeah, but this is by trying to get the DNA to work as a storage medium. There's also going to be more investment in DNA research. So like the two things will go hand in hand. We'll learn more about DNA, and at the same time we will, develop better products for better storage solutions. The fact that digital DNA storage with high capacity and long lifespan is feasible has been demonstrated several times in recent years. But the storage costs are high, close to $400,000 per megabyte, and the information stored in the DNA can only be retrieved slowly. It takes hours to days depending on the amount of data. These challenges must be overcome to make DNA data storage more applicable and marketable. Suitable tools for this are light-controlled enzymes and protein network design software. Dan Decar's team is convinced that DNA has a future as a data store. In the journal, the JMU researchers show how a combination of molecular biology, nanotechnology, novel polymers, electronics, and automation, coupled with systematic development, could make DNA data storage useful for everyday use possible in a few years. With our proof of concept, we can show how current electronics and computer technology can be partially replaced by molecular biological components. I've said it before. Suleiman talks about it in his book about how, like, the line between the biological and the synthetic is going to blur and overlap, right? So we will, like, the future is not just silicon based, it is a combination of all the things. And that's another thing. Everything involved in storage has a material cost within the world, right? You have to mine these things, you have to create these things, and then once they are, once they are created, then you have to, you have to deal with all the things around storage, and then how many of you have old hard drives or burnt CDs or anything else like that you don't use anymore because it's, it's past its prime, that kind of thing. Like the DNA storage would always be good. Yeah, there's a whole lot of upside to this. Yeah. No, like I would think it would be more fetched if is the what up, Old Snake Twitch? Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I have a lot of different storage devices that I'm using. But one of the issues that people talk about, Kurzweil talks about in his book, is what happens is that as the readers develop, then the storage items can't keep up. And now you have stuff like, if you don't have a tape deck, you can't, a tape reader, then you can't access the information that used to be stored on tapes. We used to use tapes for storage as one of our options, right? Like before floppy disks, but like also around that same time, right? And then the floppy disk, right? Like you could have floppy disks. How are you going to read them? Unless you can dig up an old, floppy disk drive, like, you're out of luck. And theoretically that floppy disk could contain, pictures of your mom or the answer to life, the universe, and anything, like all this kind of stuff. Yeah, exactly. For those VCR tapes, regular cassette tapes, and floppy disks were magnetized rust on a piece of plastic, right? And that's how you would just magnetize the rust to encode the information, and then run it over a little dealy bob that would read the information off the rust. And you can imagine there's also issues with long term, that, like, if you used a VCR, you would wear out the tape over time. What was I looking for? Oh, I was looking for the let me see if this will work. Brain computer. I think it played Doom. It played something. Welcome back, MILF. Yeah, so these scientists got dish brain, which is 800 brain cells, to be able to play Doom, right? Using electrical. I'm with you. But it's the nature of our technology that it's like not always the best technology because of all the things. So they created a brain that can play Doom. And quickly, it learned after playing Doom for 20 minutes, it got better. The cells were reorganizing, and then the Australians recently created a brain computer hybrid, and they were having that play something. That's what I was looking for, but here we are. So yeah, no, biological and synthetic crossover is the way of the future. ChatGPT AI bot is better than doctors at diagnosing patients in A&E, and the A&E is the emergency room. An AI bot may be better at diagnosing patients in emergency care than real doctors. What up, Magic? ChatGPT performed as well or better as real-life medics when given the same doctor's notes of a patient. What was the AI that totally changed the meta for some RTS game? That I'm not sure of. I know that Demis Hassabis of DeepMind created Black and White when he was a teenager. I'm not sure the one that you're... Yeah, so Black and White was like... When is this from? This is from 2001, right? So 22 years ago. Thanks, Alina. Welcome, Alina. So basically it was a god game, right? You would you had people, little villagers, they would do stuff, and then you had an avatar. Oh yeah, no, Alpha of AlphaFold and AlphaGo, and that plays StarCraft. Alpha StarCraft. Alpha Star. Yeah. Alpha Star, I guess in this case, is is really good at.
Welcome to the DeepMind headquarters in London. DeepMind is a world leader in artificial intelligence. They're widely known for their AlphaGo and AlphaZero AIs and applying their brain. This is a tactic that we use in Protoss vs. Protoss to make kind of a wall so that your opponent can't get into your base. But AlphaStar is skipping that altogether.
There are very few Protosses in Europe that don't wall off. I like to think that I'm one of them. Now, what you guys can maybe ask yourself, what's the benefit of not walling off? Technically, you save a little bit of money. Like, you save a few resources, because whoa, that's a lot of probes, by the way, just chasing around. This is...
I hate this thing. Yeah, I hate to disagree, Alina, but DeepMind StarCraft 2 AI is now better than 99.8% of all human players. Uh, 2019. So it uses template independent DNA polymerase to build the information strands using a standardized codex, and then they build a microarray to maximize the storage. I still have a lot of questions about how they keep it from degrading. I understood most of that and enough to say, yeah, no, that like, because I know that DNA degradation is a thing and like that. Were you actually reading that article? Because yeah, any insight you have into whether or not it's a viable or it looks viable, you know, by all means contribute. Of course you did, because you're one of us. And when you wish to know, you will find out. So, we found that ChatGPT performed well in generating a list of likely diagnoses and suggesting it's really on this. It really didn't change the meta as much as pointed out a couple inefficiencies. I just got. Also, if you cannon rushed, it did die easily. Okay. I am not in the StarCraft sphere, so I'm not going to argue with you about StarCraft. So I will take your word for it. We also found a lot of overlap with the doctor's list of likely diagnoses. Simply put, this indicates that ChatGPT was able to suggest medical diagnoses much like a human doctor would. So they anonymized details on 30 patients treated at this hospital in 2022. They entered physician notes on patient signs, symptoms, and physical examinations into two versions of ChatGPT, the 3.5 and the 4. Chatbots were asked to produce a list of possible diagnoses compared to real doctors. A large overlap, around 60%, between the short lists generated by ChatGPT and the doctors. The doctors had the correct diagnosis within their top 5 likely in 87% of the cases, compared to 97% for ChatGPT 3.5 and 87% for 4. Yeah, no, like, I mean, when it comes down to clicks per second, it's like... And when the game can be broken down into a variety of, like, you know, like that, like they said in the video real quick about walling off if you're the Protoss or Cannon Rush or Zerg Rush, these kind of things, I'm not interested. I have already checked out because, like, if I have to do something, then that is not me playing the game. That is me, just executing, and a robot can do that. The robot should do that. I like, one of the more popular war games out there is Axis and Allies, right? Or before Axis and Allies, Risk, right? Like a lot of people have played these games. When you go to grandma's house, there's like Sorry and Checkers and Risk, right? This kind of thing. And they devolve into certain must-do strategies. If you don't do this, then you're going to lose, or the game is over, or whatever. And it's like, I have no interest in playing that game, right? Like, I don't want to have to do. It's not that I don't want to have to do something to win. It's I don't want to have to do the same thing in every iteration of the game to win, because then what is the determiner for whether or not you win in games like Risk and Axis and Allies? It's a dice roll, so it comes down to a certain amount of randomness. You can affect the dice roll by the number of troops you have, and
We are the Borg. Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Resistance is futile.
hello there, Raiders. Welcome, Raiders. Welcome, Raiders. What up, Igloo? What up, Poodle? What up, Adam? What else we got? What up, Catch a Butterfly? What up, Kohai? What up, Les3? Am I pronouncing that correct? Black Dragon. What up, Cicero? Babel, yeah. I'm gonna be doing a little Espanol. I'm gonna learn a little Espanol. Welcome in, Raiders. You might know me. I'm Globus the Elder. I talk about AI and robots in the future and such stuff like that with my co-host Ferris the Cat. This is Ferris. What up, Critical Rad Theory? Welcome in. Always good to see you. What up, James? Que lástima dos chicas en la cocina. If you know Spanish. I took a little Spanish in high school. What up, Samsons? Yeah, robot overlord. Come save us all. I took a little Spanish in high school, and that's why I figured I'd try with something I was a little more comfortable with. I also took a year of French, and I did not like French as much. So, gonna try it out. If anybody's interested, like you wanna learn to speak a little Espanol or en français or Russian or any of that other stuff, ¿Dónde está la biblioteca? Or biblioteca, maybe. What up, Nikela? ¿Dónde está el baño is a good one, though. What up, Jason? Do not pee out the books. But if you're interested, you can save some money, and you do have to sign up for at least a month, and and not cancel before 20 days and like that. I can tell when something is French. That's about the extent of my French. I know a few words here and there. I know when I'm being sworn at, like that. But the payout for Babel is pretty good, and you get to learn a language, and I get some funding, and it's something a little bit different. Like it's not video games and everything else. See, like I know that's German. I can identify German, but no, I can't even take a shot at it. All right, right on. All right, so we're looking at an article that ChatGPT 3.5 and 4 are as likely, if not more likely, to provide an accurate diagnosis to patients in an emergency room, according to a Dutch study. We included a case of a patient presenting with joint pain that was alleviated with painkillers, but redness, joint pain, and swelling always recurred. In the previous day, the patient had a fever and a sore throat. A few times, there was a discoloration of the fingertips. Based on the physical exam and additional tests, the doctors thought the most likely diagnosis was probably a rheumatic fever, but ChatGPT was correct with its most likely diagnosis of vasculitis. It's vital to remember that ChatGPT is not a medical device, concerns over privacy. However, there is potential here for saving time and reducing waiting times in the emergency department. So, like triage, right? I definitely agree with that. What up, Charm Chaos? I mean, I'm not gonna dog on human doctors, but beyond that, yeah, your boy is ready for. Like I talked about the idea of an auto doc. Let me fire up the music again. Like at my local supermarket, I can sit down, I stick my arm in the little thing, and it will test my blood pressure. Imagine if there was something you could just walk into like once a month and it would check your vitals, maybe do a little blood test, that kind of stuff. And you're in and out within like 10, 15 minutes tops. And, like, let's say it does a blood test and it finds you're low on some vitamins or whatever. It could tell you something to do in order to improve that. And I saw Idiocracy once, so I get some of the jokes, but not all of them. But that, like, maybe you need a shot, like a B vitamin shot. Ferris. Really ready for that medical level up. Here's my Hope diagnostic health scanner, like one of those TSA screening x-ray booths. That's what I'm thinking, like something quick and that you can have access to. You don't need it in your house, but you could go to the place and it's like, and one of the things that this kind of device would do is if like it is capable of picking up these, like COVID, right? Like it would, if people were using these things, then it would detect COVID that much faster and it could, people, you're fine. The entire thing is one big derailment tangent to another. But it would allow, yeah, exactly, allow us to, address these issues faster, more concentrated before they turn into, worldwide pandemics and things like that. So, you would have to, in the end, apply fewer resources to solve a medical, like a pandemic, a disease-related thing. You would apply fewer resources because you would address it sooner and in a more localized fashion. Can you imagine getting pushed in the machine by a loved one or friend, and then they figure out you have some crazy disease? Like, how would you find out? Yeah, no, like welcome to Twitch. So yeah, looking good for the AI doctors. And then finally, a little for you Apple folks. This is the final article, and then we're gonna get into video. I got a bunch of news, but video news, so you can. I know y'all like the video. Apple's iPhone 15 launch focused heavily on AI. even though the tech giant didn't mention it. Apple spent a lot of time talking about it, or talking at its iPhone 15 launch event about the features of its product that use artificial intelligence, even if it didn't mention AI by name. For the Apple Watch and Apple Watch Ultra, unveiled the S9 chip, blah, 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 blah. S9 allows requests to Apple Siri to be processed on device. This is an AI process that typically would happen in the cloud. Apple doesn't like mentioning AI on conference calls or product events, which has led to speculation that the company is falling behind when it comes to capitalizing on the new paradigm. The reality is Apple is aggressively pursuing AI. And then, like, I'm wondering what their motivation is. As more applications that leverage AI emerge, phones will be tasked with powering them, a dynamic that will make phones with legacy chips feel sluggish. Chips are important when it comes to AI, and Apple is leading the way in building the hardware to enable those features. So, expect within the next 2 iterations of your favorite device for it to be more like the AI to be on there, like more extensive. All right. I told a fib. Before I can do the video, way I heard it, this was mentioned in the shareholder meeting, and everyone freaked out so hard that it prompted a follow-up in March and April. Like, people freak out about AI. This is the thing. You know what? I am. You guys just want to do video, or do you want to? Yeah, I'm gonna save the Spanish lesson for Friday. Since Friday. Oh, Friday. We do movie night. The first movie night we did went off. It was great. Like, we had people in. Yeah. No, I I could understand when people talk about when people on conference calls freak out. I don't. Yeah, shareholders. Alina can talk about StarCraft all they want. I'm not going to, but like I don't stop them from talking about whatever they'd like. So yeah, last week we did 2001. This upcoming Friday we're going to do the sequel to 2001, 2010. If you want to be part of movie night, all the movies are going to be related in some fashion to AI. I got a hell of a lineup. The only one, okay, Rollerball, the original Rollerball, not the remake that happened recently. But the original Rollerball we're gonna watch is not about AI. But it is about the future. There's that link again if you want to sign up for Battle and get your streamer paid and educate yourself. So yeah, we'll just get right into the video. So Friday we're gonna do Spanish lesson, and we're gonna do our normal Friday bit. We'll have some news from Matt Wolf. We'll have probably a new video from David Shapiro, and then we will do the Spanish lesson, screw around a little bit, and then go into movie night. So first, before we get into the actual content, I ran into this. So in the 1970s, there was a show called Jason from Star Command, and I remember vaguely this show existing, and apparently that was a spin-off of the Space Academy, right? So this is a 1970s kids show, but we're not going to watch the whole episode. But when I was watching the first, the intro to it, I found something fun.
Welcome to man's most magnificent achievement in the conquest of space, the man-made planetoid, Space Academy, founded in the star year 3732. Commander, look, Bob. Hi, Chris. Chris, take a look at the space planetoid. Here we have gathered young people from the farthest reaches of all the known worlds. They have been chosen for their unique abilities and are being trained to cope with the mysterious, the unknown, the unpredictable dangers lurking in the vast dark.
That was it. I missed my pause.
We have gathered the unpredictable dangers.
The robot's name is Peepo. What up, Octavia? Exactly. I figured out, like, I have to figure out how to turn this into an emote, right? Like, for all your Peepo runs and your Peepo haze and all that stuff. Like, it's perfect. How did this happen? I'm so excited. Oh. So yeah, I absolutely can, my friend. Boom. I appreciate you. Yeah, and the robot is like little. Like, I don't know if any of you ever watched Buck Rogers. He's probably also way before your time, but Buck Rogers. What up, Shakespeare? Buck Rogers had Tweaky, if I recall correctly, and it's about that same. They had short, cute robots. You know what I mean? Do. No, Duck Dodgers was in the 24th and a half century. Buck Rogers was in the 25th century, and that's the joke. Duck Dodgers in the 24th and a half century. All right, so now that we met Peepo and we initiated that, that's the joke. This is actually a little bit old.
Right now, we
this is from 2 months ago, but this is a kind of drone I did not see before. So look at this. Like, ideally, this would have come when we were talking about fireworks back in July, but here we are.
Right now, we are starting to see a very notable evolution in drone technology. But more specifically, we are starting to see how liquid neural networks can bind machines into intelligent swarms with collective abilities. This will only be more advanced in the future as we are starting to see drones with morphing capabilities. With the ability to change shape and adapt to a task automatically, the drone can be a very powerful tool in itself. The Dragon drone has already proven that complex shapes can be stabilized, and with the right setup, actuators can correlate with manipulation. Along with swarm integration, one can only...
If you can't tell what this is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drones, flying drones, that have connected themselves together and are pushing this along this track.
Imagine what an advanced Dragon drone would look like. But this is not just limited to actuated motors, and very complex vehicle designs can be made with hybrid models. In the past, we have seen how hybrid wheel-based multicopters can drive on the ground or fly in the air. There is even the latest Skywalker omnidirectional vehicle, which can
Oh yeah, like, a decade ahead of us, 2 decades. That's a common expectation. Like, there are They just did a thing where they had three, can't remember what the name of, but three large drones that were hived together or swarmed together, but also like they land on their ass so they can take off and land very like easily. And for a larger drone, that means they don't require a runway and like that. So like
transition to a ground-based mode in real time. This allows it to increase over 70% efficiency and maintain a high flying speed. But the latest hybrid is on another level. Titled the Morphobot, it can crouch, tumble, and even stand on two legs. Technically, it has 8 distinct modes of motion, thanks to its articulating body. Each leg has 2 actuated hip joints for frontal movement, and a prop mount acting as a wheel and thruster. Overall, this was really tricky because the robot incorporates 16 actuators with a pretty hefty weight of around 13 pounds. But it is still light enough to fly. And similar to a modern robotic lightweight dog, this one can actually chase you down with ease. Another pursuit is to combine VTOL capabilities with fixed-wing designs. And the Flares drone is a pretty crafty concept because the multi-copter dashes forward and actually releases the fixed-wing integrator. In this setup, the craft can fly for over 16 hours with a hefty 40-pound payload. Once the fixed wing comes back, the multi-rotor deploys a rope between itself and the ground. And the fixed wing can grab this rope with a hook, and then it's lowered. It's definitely a very unorthodox setup, but it does show what is possible when you can combine 2 different flying platforms. Naturally, we have seen many attempts in combining both VTOL and fixed wing capabilities. But the most impressive is probably the XP4, and it's arguably the first time a prototype is able to combine both of these benefits in a very large format. It has over a 13-foot wingspan, and it can carry a 15-pound payload over 60 nautical miles with an all-electric system. The critical aspect to this is the dihedral hinges. The wings tilt as they fold, and struts extend from a fuselage on a linear actuator. There still is a lot of question on what the limitation is to the scale and if you can actually build large aircraft with this system. But the company is even planning to build a more ambitious project which can carry 220 pounds at 850 miles with a turbo generator. Another drone which is tackling on this benefit is the Morpho. Once again, this looks like your typical morphing drone. But it's actually a pretty complex vehicle, because this craft can enter into horizontal flight with a biplane configuration. If it encounters a crosswind, the wings can shift into an asymmetric orientation. Through its feedback sensors, it can automatically compensate for off-center wind resistance. Once it reaches a preferred location, the wings are drawn in, making it perfect for inspections. So we have seen how drones can adapt to the ground and even the air. But what about water? Well, even though it's not the first time that we have seen a hybrid aquatic drone, the TJ Flying Fish is a crafty design which can rotate its props and then change its speed thanks to a dual-speed gearbox. The autonomous robot can adjust the angle and thrust of each motor. This allows it to fly for around 6 minutes or do underwater navigation for around 40 minutes at 6 feet per second. The only downside is that it can only go 10 feet deep, so it's not exactly going to do any deep diving expeditions. One final ability is to actually transform itself to perch on an object and maintain monitoring capabilities. The RIA lab has shown how a simple magnetic configuration can allow for docking, and this can be done on a variety of objects. One of the more notable developments is the Griffin project. It's a pretty large ornithopter with a 5-foot wingspan and a weight of around 1.5 pounds, so battery flight times can be limited. In turn, a 3-phased flight controller was utilized. This controls wing cycles, near obstacle correction, and passive perching. It's the first time an actuated claw can correct for flight inaccuracies, and correlate with the flight controller, automatically perching the robot to an object. Fortunately, it's not quite large enough for grabbing and picking up humans. Ultimately, we have seen how VTOL along with fixed-wing capabilities can increase flight times and allow the drone to perform
ever since Dune.
A higher-end task. Along with the swarm capability, we can also see how more information can be retrieved from the environment. The bottleneck to all this technology is probably battery energy density. This can be sidetracked a little bit using a turbo generator for larger variants or a piezoelectric propulsion for lighter devices. But one of the more recent developments is the maglev hyperdrive. Supposedly it's using a segmented rotor with non-contact to the propeller blades, and supposedly this could make it more efficient and quieter as well. I will definitely be following up on that story in the very near future. But as of right now, I think drone technology is only in its infancy. And I think within the next 10 years, we're going to see very incredible drone advancements. But more importantly, I would like to know what you think about all this. So,
yeah, I mean, maybe he does in other videos. It's funny because, like, as the guy who has become known as like the AI guy, on Twitch, because this is what I talk about. This is the thing, y'all. And then, like, if I don't know something, like, y'all don't understand. Y'all do not understand how much new stuff is happening all the time. And like, just like compare the drone technology from just a couple years ago to what you just saw in this video. Like, it is like, holy cats. So yeah, I'll give you the thumbs up right now. That's cool. And also in the Discord, all the videos, all the articles, they get stored in the Discord, so you can see everything that gets covered. And if there's anything in the future that you want to share with other people, you know where to find it. Let's do this. No, let's wait on that for a second. Let's do the hot news. Yeah. Yeah, a little of both there,
Mr.
Social
President,
Deviant.
for Congress to legislate on artificial intelligence is for us to engage in one of the most complex and important subjects Congress has ever faced. In just a few years, artificial intelligence has grown
in my opinion, no. Like, everything has to do with what is the execution, what is it used for. Thank you for that. Yeah, exactly. Like, drones should be used to assist us like everything else. They should be extensions of artificial intelligence. It's tracking storms and delivering, resources and, assisting us in our day-to-day lives, all that kind of stuff. It's when it's used for other stuff, that's when the problems come, right? And it's fucking exhausting.
complexity, speed, and power, doing things even experts didn't think possible so soon. In passage.
Thank you. I mean, yeah, but that was just an iteration of the problem, right? Like, that is not sorry, I'm just taking a note about the pre-crime documentary. Like, it goes back hundreds of years, right? Like, problems were set in motion hundreds of years ago or longer, that still remain unresolved, right? Like, and we're heading into a brave new future of possibility and abundance. And, you know, people are still fighting over where an imaginary line belongs on the earth, or, you know, who should be doing what, or how people are allowed to self-identify, all this kind of crap. It's the same garbage, the same continuous garbage, and it's a waste of resources. It's becoming a problem. Like, the entire capitalist mechanism as it currently exists has become top heavy, and there are symptoms that are caused by what's happening that are like, in the people who talk about those symptoms are either often, not all of them, but often doing it in either a disingenuous or a tone-deaf way, right? Like, we all saw the guy come out, the Australian dude come out talking about there needs to be more unemployment. People need to know that they work for the employer. Hey, thank you for the follow. And then you have, like, you know, like, we're having a war. We're having many wars, but like people talk about, like, artificial intelligence is going to lead to people making chemical weapons and biological weapons and all this stuff. Well, what are the goddamn? No, you're good. What are the underlying conditions, and why aren't we addressing the underlying conditions? You can't treat the symptoms. We do this symptom kind of thing as opposed to addressing the underlying conditions. And we're all of us, Chuck Schumer, Bill Gates, you and I, we're all going to suffer because of this unless we resolve these issues. It is in everyone's interest to resolve these issues.
Situations when subjects like this that are so complex and difficult come forward, too many Congresses have tended to behave reactively or favored delaying action until it's too late. But on AI, we can't behave like ostriches and stick our heads in the sand. It will affect just about every aspect of society in major ways, both positive and negative.
Those of you who have been here have, like, that I have railed against because of the way our institutions are structured and have become structured over time, that, like, I had almost no hope of any kind of reaction from our government in a timely fashion. This is the one piece of credit that I'm willing to cut them on the subject, is that they are at least doing something. We'll see how it all manifests. It's in everybody's interest to fix this stuff, but there are too many opportunities to make money. Well, what is money? Like, money, like, and this is the thing, like, money is agency and access to resources, right? Like, and we are coming up on a point in time where there will be more. We're already at a point in time where there are more resources than we can use, and our problems have come down to distribution. And the problems that we have with distribution most often are based around the bottleneck that has become in profit seeking. Like, it is, and just look outside and see all the different, crap and the things that are on fire and flooding, and sometimes on fire and flooding. And, like, you can go ahead and hide in your bunker, but if your bunker is underwater, it's not going to help you. How many channels programming about hoarders is just with money? Yeah, 100%.
And on an issue this wide-ranging and important, we must make every good faith effort to act. Congress must recognize two things: that this effort must be bipartisan, and we need outside help if we want to write effective AI policies. We need help, of course, from developers and experts who build AI systems. But we also need help from critics who can make sure the liabilities of AI are minimized by guardrails. Those critics will come from two places: from outside the industry, such as labor and civil rights and the creative community, but we also need critics from inside the industry as well, who may know, in a very technical sense, how to minimize the dangers. That's why tomorrow will be so important. Tomorrow morning, I will convene with Senators Rounds and Heinrich and Young the first of a series of AI Insight forums to bring leaders from inside and outside the industry to debate Congress's role in regulating AI. We have a balanced and diverse group at the table, not just those from tech, but AI experts and ethicists who've spent years researching and advancing the technology. We'll also have organizations outside the industry representing labor and civil rights, the world of academia, defense, and so much more. All of these groups, together in one room, talking about how and why Congress must act, what questions to ask, and how to build a consensus for safe innovation. That is.
I mean, like, I do my best not to head into any kind of ageism, but like there are people with serious medical conditions who are in charge of stuff, and it's a problem. There are people with conflicts of interest in charge of stuff, and it's a problem. So, yes.
Of course, what we have called our suggestion. Because AI must be our North Star, because AI innovation must be our North Star in all we do. And I'm talking about.
But the ageism is not the thing, right? Like it doesn't matter how old you are. Like, I don't care how old you are. I care about whether or not you have the capacity and ability to do the job and are able to do that. Now, that those two things can go hand in hand, but they need to be kept separate. You know what I mean?
About innovation in both a transformational sense, the kind of innovation that unlocks new cures, improves education, protects our national security, protects our food supply, and sustainable innovation, so that we may find new and creative ways to protect against AI's risk.
That kind of stuff can head in a bunch of different ways that aren't like, I don't know. Some of it ends up in pseudoscience and other stuff. So, I am less concerned with things like that and more concerned with what kind of policies are you going to put forward and what is going to get passed, right? Like, show me what you're going to do, not everything else is like secondary.
And minimize the chances of this technology going off the rails, which would undermine innovation altogether. The only way we'll achieve this goal is by bringing a diverse group of perspectives together, from those who work every day on these systems to those openly critical of many parts of AI and who worry about its effects on workers, on racial and gender bias, and more. So I look forward to tomorrow's conversation, the first of many we will have this fall. I expect we'll hear a wide range of views and opinions and lots of dissenting views. That's how it should be. I want to thank every participant attending tomorrow's forum. Thank you also to Senator Rounds and Heinrich and Young, who helped organize tomorrow's meeting. And of course, I want to thank all my colleagues from both sides of the aisle who recognize the urgency of AI. The Senate is fully engaged in this issue and is ready to do more. Our committees and subcommittees have already held no fewer than 9 hearings on AI, with more happening this week, all on issues ranging from national security to human rights to IP and more. We need all hands on deck if we want to maximize AI's societal benefits while minimize its many risks. Tomorrow we'll take the next step in this great undertaking, and I urge all my colleagues from both sides to attend.
Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, and other top tech leaders are on Capitol.
Okay, that was from yesterday. This is from 5 hours ago. This is ABC News.
Capitol Hill today for a closed-door forum on artificial intelligence. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says he's hoping they can give lawmakers the perspective they need to pass meaningful regulations on the new technology. Let's bring in ABC's Jay O'Brien on Capitol Hill for more on that. Jay, what do lawmakers want to hear from these tech leaders today?
Well, it's interesting, Diane, because this summit, which was put together by Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, as well as Mike Rounds, who's a Republican senator of South Dakota, is going on all day, but it's behind closed doors. So we're not allowed in to hear exactly what's being said. We're getting drips and drabs of what's being said because senators are coming out from, if you can see over my shoulder there, that lit area there is the doors to that summit. And we've seen senators come out and give a sense of what they wanted to hear and also what they heard behind those closed doors. Richard Blumenthal, Senator of Connecticut, just came out and he reiterated something he's said for months now, which is the need to regulate artificial intelligence, as he puts it, like airline safety is regulated. So to your question of what lawmakers want to hear, this is part of a multi-pronged plan that Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer put forward weeks back, saying that he wants to not just create some legislation to create safeguards around artificial intelligence, but before he does that, he wants to educate his colleagues on exactly what AI is, because in our reporting, we've found a number of senators and members of the House as well have said they're not terribly clear about AI.
So one of the things regarding this is that, and this is why I draw an important distinction around this. It is easy to meme and say that, these people are dumb or foolish or whatever, right? Like, it's important to understand that the majority of these people know what's going on, right? So obviously some of the concerns are existential and things like that. Our media is based around the idea that, Skynet and HAL 9000 and crap like that. But if the thing that at the heart of it all is that sufficient automation, right? And prior to the current AI explosion, right? Prior to ChatGPT, automation was confined to a concern it was a concern for the working class, right? The people who labor. Automation comes for their jobs and, can mess with their wages and things like that. The current AI boom, the current automation boom is happening around white collar jobs, right? It is a very real threat to executives and CEOs that they could be replaced by automation. We did the article earlier showing that, AI can, ChatGPT, when receiving the same information as doctors in this one study, like, we're not going to overplay it, but it's significant. In this study, ChatGPT is capable of reaching the same conclusions as doctors in 60% of cases, but that its diagnoses were equal to or better than the doctors, right? Now, in the beginning, that's going to be, like, helpful. It's going to allow overworked doctors to focus their abilities while, a bunch of people who could see, all I need is the chatbot, and then I can get whatever assistance I need. So that's a boon for everybody. But over time, that also means fewer doctors, fewer doctor jobs. This is the other thing. Is like past. We're going to watch a video on the fourth industrial revolution, which is what this all is. Previous industrial revolutions have changed the nature of work, but there's always been more work. This kind of automation can eliminate the work, right? It's not like, like the loom, right? Like, let's talk about the Luddites, right? Like, you got a loom, you've got automated looms. They are a threat to, and like that, and they go and they bust them up. But it allowed a single person to create more product. But the person still had work to do. This is going to eliminate the opportunity for people to work. Right? Like I'm going to pick a low-hanging fruit. I'm going to talk about the call center. You can eliminate eventually all the jobs, but at least in the short term, most of the jobs with automation. Because if I get an AI bot, I can now copy as many iterations of that AI bot as I need. So the work is gone. And if my company with its AI bots is cheaper to run, more productive, blah, 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 then I'm either going to win the race or all my competitors are going to adapt and do the same thing. So all those jobs are gone. Right? The work is gone. Things are different this time. A lot of people keep doing the thing where they say, well, automation eliminates blacksmithing but creates mechanics, car mechanics. Right? And that's the way it's always been, so that's the way it's going to be again. I am telling you, that is not the way. Like, we can eliminate humans from farming. We can eliminate humans from the fast food industry. We can eliminate humans from customer service. We have become a service economy. All the DoorDashes and the Ubers and all that stuff, that is using humans because the automation is not quite there yet. But as soon as that automation is there, those jobs are gone. I know that those jobs suck, for a variety of friggin' reasons, but those jobs are gone. Humans are placeholders for automation. One of the reasons why automation is the bane of capitalism and the savior of socialism. And that is the point. Because we are going to reach, and the Apple shareholders understand that with sufficient levels of automation, we are going to have the same or increased levels of production and abundance. So we either need to take care of the humans who no longer have this work to do, or those humans are going to have hungry children and time on their hands. And throughout history, humans with hungry children and time on their hands make decisions that don't bode well for those in positions of authority. And everybody knows this. That is what we're looking into. That is what is bearing down on us. The The biggest realization you need to take away from all this, what up, Tatiana? Jump down, Tatiana. The biggest realization I want you to take away from all this is the fact that we are headed into not high unemployment, not Great Depression levels of unemployment, but depending on how far forward and how fast, full unemployment. And I'm not being hyperbolic. Right? My man David Shapiro's got the video, he's got the numbers, looking at 82% unemployment within a short window. What I want y'all to do, the whole purpose of this channel, the whole purpose of this community, the whole purpose of all this, is I want y'all to be using the AI to interact with the AI, not only because your politics, which everything is political, so everything about you is political, is going to be incorporated into the data sets going forward, which is very important. But also that as the churn happens and the chaos happens, until we figure all this shit out, y'all are the ones who are staying employed. Because the next step, you're not going to lose your job to AI necessarily. You're going to lose your job to someone who knows how to work with the AI. You're going to lose your job to the person who's more productive because they know how to use the AI. Whatever all the capitalist bullshit, the AI is going to help you. You're going to be able to do more. You're going to be able to do it faster, and it's going to be less work for you. I've got a friend, I'm not going to say his name because I don't want it to get back to his boss, but his job is to push a button once a day. Literally, that's his job, is to push a button once a day. Because he knows how to use the automation. A lot. It's silly. But nobody on the job side knows that his job is to push a button once a day. You know what I mean? It's like they think that he's doing the same work that they do, but he just automated all his shit. And he pushes a button, gets bacon, done. It's amazing. Those of a certain age, remember when you became the person everyone asked how to do shit in Excel or how to email? We're going to see it, but way more exactly. Could we ever, welcome back, SW3DP, like is that how that's pronounced? I don't want to, could we ever counter the genetic bad human feed that is the algorithm with good feedback? I'm not. It's not an underground bunker. You were in James's chat earlier. I'm not sure if you could rephrase that question. Like in social media and things of that nature. Right. Oh, okay. So that, so that's an interesting question, right? Like why and we have to understand why that is, right? Some of it is internal, and probably goes back to like back when we were running from tigers in the Sveltland. But some of it also is going to be due to how we were trained and the circular nature of our social media circles. But again, David Shapiro, we just watched a video on Monday. about using ChatGPT. They did a study and they were using ChatGPT to act as a go-between these different groups. And not only were these groups more productive, but the there's not like if I tell you something, it comes with all this baggage. Whatever you think of me, whatever you think of my style, whatever you think of this thing, whatever you think of my politics, all that comes into play, even if you aren't actively thinking about it. But ChatGPT it's just a chatbot, right? It's just a chatbot. So when if it gives you the same idea that I might, you don't have those same defensive reactions to it that exist within that space. So it is possible that using like a bot of that nature to act between different echo chambers, that it will erode the echo chambers over time. From a personal level, I actively seek out to do exactly what you're asking about. Like I used to fight on the internet in the comments all the time. And I don't do that anymore. I actively don't do it. Right? We spend a lot of our time on this platform having the same pieces of video, dunking on the same political opponents that we don't agree with, going over the same content, and that can't be good for us. And I'm not telling anybody to stop doing whatever. Like, it is not my place, and I'm just saying, like, maybe y'all, maybe you as chatters, maybe you as streamers, try to, like, see what you can do to do a little bit less of the, we're gonna, do some hogwatch, and maybe a little more of the, here's some like positive messaging, or I'm just gonna ignore that crap. I don't need to see the angry thumb dude yelling about pronouns on everybody's stream. Right?
The potential and the peril here are huge.
Thank you for the follow. You know what I mean? Like, this is what I'm about. Is like, I'm just not going to do it. Like, my politics are inherent in what I talk about, but like, I don't beat people up because they don't necessarily agree with me. If you disagree and you think capitalism is great, there's still a place for you to hang out here and learn about AI, right? Because it's not you that's the problem. Like, we just disagree on stuff, and as long as you're not a chud weirdo, like, being weird, then there's no problem, right? Like, we're good. We can have a conversation. I like having conversations with people. There are better ways to go about this that don't do this weird feedback loop that we all get involved in. And then it's the same thing, and it's all anger, and we're all angry, and we're angry all the time, and we're laughing, and we're angry, and we're laughing, and we're angry, and that can't be good for us. You know what I mean? This fucking guy. All right. Yeah. Back to the video.
And its uses and its positives and its negatives, and they want to get up to speed before they regulate it. So that's the purpose of this summit today. That's why these tech titans have been brought here to Capitol Hill. We're still waiting on a full readout of exactly what they tell these lawmakers.
Jay, any potential AI regulation would need to mitigate risks without hampering development. So what could that look like, and how big of a challenge is it for Congress to walk that line?
And that is the needle that Chuck Schumer is.
Now, again, your media literacy, like, do you hear the question that was asked in the way that it was phrased, right? Like, it's a pro-capitalist, production, pro kind of thing. Like, this is the other thing is and I got nothing against Second Thought, and I got nothing against Amy Goodman. They're doing their thing, and it's great and like that. But what ends up happening, right? And I'm gonna watch my viewer count go down probably a little bit, but like, oh, I can't watch ABC because it's all libs. It's all libbed up. It's all, libbed up and all that kind of crap. And it's like, okay, but you're missing out on a portion of the conversation. You don't have to agree with it, right? But you can like pull the information out of it, right? Like one of the things is when we go over the news articles, right? Like I'm pointing out, okay, this is an opinion piece. You see the phrasing here. This, even though this is an article, this person is still obviously anti-AI or pro-AI or something of that nature. There's levels to it, right? Where you can observe it and take the information without getting caught up in necessarily, the propaganda of it all. I watch every Trump rally because I need to hear from the horse's ass. I would zero chance. I like Trump. I have nothing. There is nothing he could say. I am beyond needing to hear from Donald Trump or Ben Shapiro or Steven Crowder or Prager or like I'm done. Like I got it. Okay. Yeah, you have this worldview. It comes across in every single thing you do. I'm good. Peace. Team Weed. First time chat. Going back a little bit, I was just reading an article yesterday that Chat GPT gave him out. Yeah, we covered that on Monday. Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, there's a tremendous amount of opportunity here for accessing these tools, and there's a whole bunch of human issues related to it. But then, like, we also need to, like, it's complex. But yeah, no, because. And ChatGPT is not flawless. There's a bunch of issues with hallucinations. We talk about ways on this program and other videos that we watch where there are ways to deal with the hallucination issues and stuff like that. But like a doctor is a human being. All these people are human beings. They are all fallible. They have all sorts of different stuff. All sorts of different things, and their biases are going to be incorporated in that. And ChatGPT has biases, but they present themselves differently. So a doctor may just fixate on a particular aspect of a thing, right? Like he could just be sure, like House is sure that it's friggin' lupus, right? Even though it's not lupus. Never lupus. ChatGPT is not going to do that. The AI is not going to do that. ChatGPT is incredible in the same way a Tesla self-driving demo was in 2017. It's freaking amazing what we can do, but it still fails spectacularly on a semi-regular basis. Like, my interactions with ChatGPT have always been like 90% tier, so but you use it way more than I do, I'm not going to lie. Opioid crisis taught me this. Doctors are humans and just as susceptible as everyone else, possibly more so because they have a malpractice insurance staff. Absolutely. And there's also financial incentives in order for them to do the thing. And they suffer under capitalism in the same way the rest of us. 100%. AI to me perfectly fits the old great power brings great responsibility. I like you. Welcome in. You do tend to push it a bit.
Has even said he's trying to thread this notion.
And not just ChatGPT, but that's I love you.
Of not putting too much regulation on AI, not surrounding Silicon Valley in red tape to the point that you would hamper development, but also regulating AI sooner than, let's say, social media was regulated. One of the things we repeatedly hear
Social
from
media is
lawmakers
not
is that
regulated.
they're using social media as a watchword now, in that social media was allowed to explode. Companies like Facebook, and Mark Zuckerberg is here, and Twitter, now X, et cetera, was allowed to blossom and explode outwards without government regulation really put on those companies until relatively late in the game. And that is something that senators say they want to avoid with artificial intelligence. But to your question, they haven't quite figured out how to thread that needle yet. It's one of the reasons why they're calling not just Zuckerberg and Gates and Musk here to the Hill, but also Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, which is the maker of ChatGPT. Sam Altman told me earlier in the day that he doesn't have something he wants to say to lawmakers. He just wants to answer their questions, and you can bet that's probably going to be one of the first questions from lawmakers is how do they thread that needle when it comes to innovation?
Now, Jay, Republican Senator Josh Hawley, Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren, they both expressed reservations about inviting tech leaders to tell lawmakers how they want to be regulated. What's the biggest concern about that?
Well, and it's
I wish you
interesting
luck.
because there's two schools of thought here. The Hawley Warren school of thought is, why would you bring leaders who Hawley and Warren accuse them of having tech monopolies to Capitol Hill to write this legislation? The other half of the coin is, if you hear Sam Altman talk in these hearings that he's had in the past on Capitol Hill, he has asked for regulation. Now, behind the scenes, there's criticism that big artificial intelligence companies that are heavily invested in this space, like Microsoft and like Google, are publicly saying they want regulation and privately lobbying against strict regulation. It remains to be seen if any bill gets written, how much lobbying would really be done by Silicon Valley here. But you can bet that those concerns from Hawley, from Warren, from others are not just going to come to a head now, but if there is legislation being written and there is aggressive lobbying done by Silicon Valley, those concerns are only going to bubble back up to the surface and make any passage of any AI legislation somewhat harder because of those concerns that lawmakers are no doubt going to present if something were to get written and brought to a vote on the Senate floor.
All right, Jay O'Brien on Capitol Hill. I know you're keeping a close eye on it for us. Thank you. And ABC News contributor, Google Tech Policy Fellow Mike Muse joins me now for more on this. Mike, what do you make of this criticism that these tech leaders shouldn't be dictating how their own work is regulated?
I think the framing of what Jay just reported out with Senator Warren and Senator Hawley is absolutely the wrong way to frame this conversation. I think this has to be a two-way dialogue. It shouldn't be just Congress and elected officials preaching or regulating to the innovators, but also to the innovators also to have to be able to inform the politicians, elected officials, on how this tech policy and how this technology actually operates. A lot of individuals in Congress are just unaware.
And this is one of my issues with this kind of news format is, like, this feels like a scripted response rather than a natural response. And, like, to one extent, I understand that because you're trying to deliver a certain amount of information in a tight package so that people can understand and like that. But it comes off as, like, you know, like very surface level, very like non-genuine, non-authentic, right? With, like, I gotta find, man, I wish I could talk to, like, fucking Sam Altman.
Aware of how the technology operates just as much as the American public is unaware of how this technology operates. And so my concern is that the elected officials are responding knee-jerk in a political dynamic and expediency in order to support the American public who actually doesn't have a full grasp of this. So I actually think this idea of this forum is really good. I hope a lot of it will be off the record. I can't believe I'm saying this as a journalist, but I think that's the best use for the American public to get best solutions out of it if they can have an off-the-record private conversation on how this technology works, what they would like from it. On the flip side, how the elected officials can say, this is the type of regulations we would like to see. But there has to be an education first. And the American public just doesn't have that, nor does Congress.
And you can have that conversation.
And that's not wrong. Like, we looked at the numbers, right? Like, there are articles and videos about the numbers, right? a very small percentage of people in the United States. I haven't used it yet, but I did before I accepted the sponsorship. I did look into them, and they seem to be a good platform for starting learning a new language. Like that is the general consensus across all the reviews that I looked at, and things of that nature. Like, I would not have accepted them as a sponsor if I didn't believe that they could potentially provide the service that they claim to. So, like, a tentative thumbs up. I was supposed to do user product on stream, learn some Spanish today, but I figured we'd get right into the video. I'm going to be doing that on Friday. If you want to take a look then and see what is under the hood, because I get a 1 month free to use the thing and like that. So like, if like, if somebody were to come to me and say, do I recommend it? I would say, like, is this your first time with that language? I think if you are looking for, like, nuanced conversational, like a deep dive, like you have some years in the language, I don't know that it brings as much to the table. I think Rosetta Stone might be more powerful in that regard, or other things of that nature. But, like, as far as, like, day one, I want to learn a new language, it seems to have the chops. We're getting there. No, like, translation AI is impressive now. Like, it is happening. Yeah, that's where I'm at with it. It, like, is this your first experience with this new language? Yeah, there's a bunch of things happening with translation. The large language models have made it, much more effective, and I think by next year you'll have, like, really, like, the people who do translation at the UN, their days are numbered.
Conversation on the record in terms of it's documented somewhere without making this openly available to the public, where they're worried about trade secrets and that kind of thing. But you have worked extensively with this technology. So what's your recommendation? If you could sit down with these lawmakers, which I'm sure you wish you could, what's your recommendation on how to handle that?
I come somewhere in the middle between President Biden's and the White House Bill of Rights, and where the technology community says that they want very limited oversight and regulations. I believe that there does need to be a separate federal agency that focuses just on artificial intelligence and technology, because
100%.
Diane, AI isn't a one-size-fits-all. There's so many nuanced products and use of AI. We generally think about AI from this generative AI, which is just ChatGPT. It's so much bigger than that. It's facial recognition. It's use in medical technology. It's use in educational technology. And so there's so many different ways that we use it, that so many different guardrails need to be put in place. So I think that a federal agency needs to be put in place to regulate it, but we also have to have nuance and understanding of it. My focus on that actually will be the algorithm, and to make sure that there is much limited biases associated within the algorithm. And that is what I would like the federal agency to kind of oversee. And then next is a cross-collaborative effort of teams. We're focusing so much on computer scientists. We also need to have more, philosophy majors involved, people who are major in sociology, to really understand human.
Your boy is huge into cross-disciplinary, like it needs to be that way. I can't stress it enough. Like, tech has become, or had previously, like, a bunch of these tech folks, like the CEOs of the AI companies, are saying the right words. They just have to take the right actions. But like it can't be insular. It needs to be across a holistic approach. It needs to be representative. I always harp on that. We need data sets that are either like unbiased or equally biased, whichever of those two is more, efficacious for what we're trying to accomplish. Like so much. We need sociologists, we need philosophy, we need tech, we need all the things to be together for it to be what we need it to be. Former polyglot myself, never thought about translator roles going bye-bye. Still seems safe given the known shortfalls of ATI at the moment. Don't like.
And the peril here are huge.
Thank you for the follow. I like. Don't sit on your laurels. Like we could do a dive into that, but like I need to focus on what's going on. But like seriously, there is some like. You can see it in YouTube. YouTube's translation algorithm that they're using for subtitles is incredibly good. So like it may seem like AI has shortfalls, but it is going to change very quickly. Like that industry is dead. It's on its last legs. It's come a long way since I was in middle school, aka the early years of the internet. Teacher knew every time I tried to use the internet translator because of the grammar and wrong accent. Well, 100%. Yeah, like we are beyond that. No. Like I mean, this is whatever I got to do to keep you engaged. I'm more than happy to do. I want people to stay engaged. I want them to have a good time, and I want you to learn something. And if all that happens, I'm happy to do it.
Human behaviors, human patterns, social constructs to really build a cohesive AI product that isn't so singular based off of just a computer scientist.
So that's the end goal. What are you watching for out of this forum, and what do you hope comes of this joining of political leaders and tech leaders and how they navigate this going forward?
My hope is that when this summit is done, and I think it's going to take more summits to go, that there is a recognition that we do need to have some form of regulation, but also too that the regulation that we have doesn't stifle innovation. And I think that is going to be important because if we look at America, just the overregulation of American companies and use of AI, we have to remember there's a whole global world out there that is also too at a technological race to get and create AI products quicker and faster to build up their economies at a much more higher rate if we regulate more than other global countries, we will become at a competitive disadvantage when it comes to technology. So I'm hoping that also, too, is a readout that we will hear from the summit, that there is some type of understanding with that.
All right, ABC News contributor, Google Tech Policy Fellow, Mike Muse. Always great to have you, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos.
Five hours ago, 5,000 views. 66 likes, 6,000 views. Yeah, and like we are memeing ourselves into the future. Numbers always look fishy. You're not wrong. Like, take care, Valvo. I don't know enough about the person and what they may or may not have done to form an opinion. Fox Business. Trigger warning, Fox Business.
Okay, look who's here, Senator Mike Braun from Senate Budget. Senator, it's good to have you back on. Okay, so we had these Senate hearings today on the dangers of artificial intelligence. Microsoft President Brad Smith was there.
Notice Notice the framing, the dangers of artificial intelligence. Fiery hearings on artificial intelligence today. Like, it's a whole different framing coming in.
NVIDIA chief scientist William Daly. But even officials in artificial intelligence are scared and worried AI is smarter than humans and smarter than anything Congress can cook up.
Scared and worried.
To regulate it. What do you think?
Hey, I ran a logistics and distribution business for 37 years prior to becoming a senator, and we poured technology to it to our great advantage in two mundane businesses like that. But embracing technology is one thing. Hearing this new AI when the original...
I mean, if your definition of like billionaire is the most evil capitalist, then yes. But I mean, Sam Altman, even Elon Musk, for his sins, are talking about things like UBI, right? So like not just them, but Suleiman is talking about how our entire economy, the fundamentals of our economy are going to change. What's his name with Anthropic, whose name escapes me at the moment, talking about UBI, talking about how everything's going to be transformed, hyperabundance, all these kind of things. So it's like, yes. Who, Andrew Yang? No, we don't talk about Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang is a meme. Is a meme human being. No, Anthropic AI is a AI company. They're all talking about the right things.
Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Resistance is futile. We are...
What up, Alex? Welcome in. What up, K-Powers? What up, Lavi and Jesus? How we doing? Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. What up, Zayduck? Shout out homie Alex.
The potential and the peril here are huge.
What up, lot of apples? Dorgrona. What up, Dorgrona? Welcome in. I'm Globus Elder. I talk about AI, robots, automation, the future, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, like, I mean, I don't know how, and that, like, we could get lost in the weeds about that. My expectation is for people to be as they are based on their material conditions, right? But ultimately, what I want to see is what your policy is going to do. And again, like, fundamentally, a future of hyperabundance and no jobs to be done by human beings leads to one of two options, right? Like, you either end up with UBI satisfying the material conditions of all the people, all the things, so on and so forth, and that's great. You know, call it socialist utopia, whatever makes you happy, right? And the other one is where they don't do that, and you have a bunch of people with hungry children and too much time on their hands, and they will make decisions, right? Like, that's fundamentally the two major splits. It can be more nuanced about that. But whatever your worst case scenario, and I'm in the process of laying my hands on a whiteboard, so I'm going to do some whiteboard teaching streams. But whatever your worst case scenario is, I have also thought about it, and I can figure out why it's not plausible. The most plausible worst case scenario that I can come up with is a police state, but a police state that also meets all the material conditions. So something similar to a more advanced version of what China has going on right now, that kind of thing. So that is the worst case scenario that I think could happen plausibly. Like, because of the other ones, there are reasons why everything is going to do the thing. I figured out with the amount of paint and what I wanted to do. Like, I found one at 3 foot by 4 foot, or something. I can't 100% remember, but like something in that neighborhood is going to cost like $67, and to get the paint and to do it up properly between my labor and the cost of materials, it would be. The $67 is worth it, you know. So like, there's a bunch of factors that you take in, and based on my material conditions, I'm gonna buy this one that I found. I'm just not sure exactly when, but like, people are more than welcome to come at me with their worst case AI scenarios, and I can tell you why it's probably not going to go down like that. All right, back to faux news.
Originators, the founders, have put more warnings out there about the use of it. That makes you want to take a step back. So I don't know how we leash this in a way that doesn't put a wet blanket on its early use. But when I look at how it could be used, I think there's a little reason to be a little bit careful about how we unroll it. We're going to have a tutorial tomorrow from the tech moguls, and I don't know why Randy Weingarten from the Teachers Union from 10 to 1. So we'll find out a little bit directly from them to the senators.
Why is the teachers union chief there?
Yeah, I have to get in a dig on the teachers union. Like, it's called representative democracy. Like, do the thing.
I have no idea. I don't know why she would be there, but supposedly will be.
So, you know what really freaked out people is MIT and Harvard students. They had no scientific background, Senator. They showed they could design a deadly new pandemic outbreak in just an hour by using chatbots powered by artificial intelligence models. That's when people said, whoa, this is scary stuff. I mean, AI could take over jobs, spread.
And, okay, yeah, like, my tolerance level, we are way past it, right? Like, we are way past. It's short. We got another 2 minutes. We can do this, and then we can move on. It's important to understand that your probably in a lot of your cases, your parents and grandparents, you know, this is their lens on which they are viewing AI, right? And so you need to understand what they're hearing in order to give them a more accurate understanding of what's actually going on and what's actually capable of occurring. And like, that statement of being able to, like, theoretically, yes, you can use, or you, at least at some future point in time, you could theoretically design a pandemic that is like worse than smallpox and all that other kind of thing. But like, just because some people did a thing does not mean that that is imminent. You know what I mean?
More fake news, do a dangerous arms race. So, you know, do you think that this idea from Senators Richard Blumenthal and Josh Hawley of a new government?
Yeah, and her stink face is killing me.
Regulatory body to audit and oversee and license AI is going to work?
Well, you're getting both ends of the spectrum there with Josh and Blumenthal. So that tells you there's broad concern. All I can tell you, as much as an entrepreneur, as a senator, this gives me pause in terms of how I know technology can be put to use, but the nefarious uses that this might bring into play, it's going to take a different type of framework, because you don't want to kill the technology by smothering it, because we know it can do a lot of good things. But look at what it might be done with it.
And it's fascinating to watch an obvious pro-capital conservative Republican attempt to dance around this idea of like innovation and technology and capitalism and all that on one hand, but regulation being needed to prevent the excesses of the technology. All technology is dual use. A chair can be sat on or it can be used to club a person to death, right? Like fundamentally all technology is dual use. What you use your computer for is what you use your computer for. Now, realistically, adults in the room would be talking about addressing the underlying conditions. The reason that people do stuff is because of their conditions. If they are bad actors, if they are doing terrorism, if they are doing crime, if they are doing these things, it's because of their material conditions. If you address those material conditions, you end up with less of these as an occurrence. There's a very simple solution, a rare,
are huge.
Thank you for the follow. Like this is a thing that we could be doing, but until they are willing to get it. And again, I don't care what you call it. You could call it Happy Fun Time Sunday vanilla flavored Wonderland, right? As long as you address people's material conditions, you take care of their basic needs, which include everything from housing and medical care to internet, everything you need to function as a person within this environment. If you do that, you are going to solve the majority of your problems. As long as you fight against it, you are going to have to twist yourself in knots to try and be this guy. It could be. I don't judge.
In the wrong hands, and I'm sure a lot of our enemies across the world are cooking up ideas how to use it as well.
So a mother, for good positive things, a mother, Courtney, she isn't revealing her real name. Her son, 4-year-old boy, had a spinal condition that 17 specialists and doctors couldn't figure out. And she put it up on ChatGPT and artificial intelligence. ChatGPT figured out he had a serious neurological spinal condition.
I would just like to point out that she referred to ChatGPT as a they, right? So they understand they, thems.
So there's good things that could come out from AI. But Senator, you and other senators, including Senator James Lankford, introduced a bill to require transparency of federal government use of AI. Can you talk to us about that?
That is simply for our own government use, because you got to be careful about this institution as well. We want to make sure it's clear, if you're ever communicating with your own government, that there's a disclaimer, whether you're talking to a transformer or a regular person. So we need to be careful in so many different dimensions. That example you gave of ferreting out how to solve a disease or get to a diagnosis, that is what we should aspire to. We just got to be very careful along the way.
So you're worried? You're very worried about it? Final word, Senator. Got 10 seconds.
I think we'll find the right balance, because I've never seen anything so forewarned by the people that created it. That's different than most other things.
Senator Mike Braun, thanks for joining us. A pleasure having you on.
These tech executives, giants of the tech industry, are coming forward because they understand the American people are rightly and understandably fearful about what AI could mean to their freedoms, economic opportunity. We need to achieve the
economic opportunity, right? This is the issue. It's always going to be an issue. You are coming up against the fact that the capitalist system doesn't function under this new paradigm. Everything is going to change. And trying to graft capitalism, such as it currently exists, onto what is happening with artificial intelligence, you're going to twist yourself in knots. I was very generous, right? Like, because the Transformer is part of like the LLM and like that. I gave him that benefit of the doubt, but you you might be more right than I am. What up, little Donnie Fun? Everything has to change. I just hope it's a peaceful transition. It can be, but it's going to happen. Like, everything is going to change. It's not that it has to change. Everything is going to change, right? Like, this is the thing. Everyone is going to be affected, from Bill Gates, from Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, to everyone else, right? To you and I, everything is going to change. And not within the next 100 years, right? It's going to change within the next couple of years. It's going to change within the next decade. Like, there's going to be variety of changes. Everything is getting weird right now. It's not going to get weird sometime in the future. It's getting weird now. Favorite quote is, the only reason you have a job is because it hasn't been automated yet. All work can be all work. All work. Whatever definition you want to apply to work, all work can and will be automated. I will die on that hill. Now, you as a craftsman in whatever field of craft you decide to do not necessarily have to use the automation. So if you paint, you don't have to use an AI automated robot painter. You can paint with your own hands. But there will be a fully automated AI robot painter. And then, what is the Mona Lisa when the AI automated robot painter can make an exact copy? What is the Statue of David when the robot automated sculptor can make an exact copy? Things are getting weird now. Why can't the machines automate the energy production rather than rely? It's actually incredibly inefficient to do what they did in the Matrix. It was fun for the story, but like, why would you do it that way? Why would you not just like have cold fusion or something else? Like, and this is why ultimately all our media fails us in that regard, is because while like Skynet was barely human level artificial intelligence and still had a whole bunch of emotional issues, right? Like, all AI characters in stories are written to represent a human condition that the humans are reacting to. And that's why we're not going to do that. Like, I mean, it's just not going to work. What about sex bots? I'm all for sex bots. Whatever makes you happy. As long as you are happy. Futurama made a joke about that and said potatoes would be better than people. All work that's more profitable than the cost of the machine. Nobody replaces a school bus with 20 Ferraris. That's you'll find if you hang out here long enough that I don't like metaphors because they're often used more to prove a point rather than to actually be a demonstrable example, a good analogy. What you said is true, but it doesn't mean anything in the context that we're talking about, right? Like, all work will be replaced with automation because the cost of automation is going to trend to zero. There are already levels of automation that you see around you that have like slowly come in, and you're probably not even aware that they are happening unless you're actively looking for all the automation. It will continue to improve. as you eliminate a human worker, the cost of humans? No, the cost of humans are humans, right? Like, but the cost of the employee gets removed from the factoring. This is one thing. And once you remove humans along the supply line, costs continue to go down. Humans have a variety of conditions that make them less than ideal workers. Robots and AI do not have those conditions. And I hope it is used for good works. Team Weed, like, and then the AI is actually significantly less likely to get scared and shoot your dog. You know what I mean? Like, if you watch RoboCop, it will be other than that. But if you actually think about it, the AI, the robot, is not, it doesn't have the human freak out, right? Humans freak out. Humans are scared little monkeys that are still, portions of our brain are still hiding from tigers in the Sveltland, right? Robots don't do that. No, yeah, that's, I mean, data sets always matter, like, right?
The promise, a lot of promise, but avoid the panoply of perils. And a framework for legislation is a solid start. And the picture today is worth 1,000 words of these tech executives, giants in this industry coming forward. And my hope is, again, that they will appear also in open forums like our subcommittee, which will continue to have hearings, and already some of them have been there, like Sam Altman, Brad Smith, IBM was represented, and we're going to move forward. Thank you.
Against algorithmic discrimination.
Yeah, great mass there, pal.
Minorities, against elderly, against poor people. We need a privacy bill of rights for everyone in our country, but especially teenagers who are.
I mean, yes. Like, again, there is a series of steps that exist between here and there, right? And that's why, like, there is no answer I can possibly give you that is 100% airtight. What I'm talking about is what is the most probabilistic outcome.
Suffering right now from a mental health crisis that we know is largely related to this existing generation of AI targeting of young people in our country. We didn't get to solutions here, but obviously we can already live with and understand.
Like, I thought about that as opposed to doing the whiteboard, right? Like, the whiteboard is a low-tech solution, and like, so that's what I went with.
Understand the dangers of today, and we still haven't put those solutions in place. Facial recognition, algorithmic injustice, a privacy bill of rights for all teenagers in our country. That should be the agenda that we move.
All teenagers? What about everybody? Like, you have to twist yourself in knots in order to not address all of the fundamental conditions.
Forward and really have the discussions to pass that legislation this year.
I thought it was helpful. I think that there was, in my view, a consensus emerging that we need a regulator, and probably a new regulator, to do the work that has to be done, and that's consistent with my position, which is that we've got to have something like the FDA that was mentioned in there, or like the FCC, that not only can work in an expeditious way, but can do it in a thoughtful way and an informed way. And I think Congress will never do that. And I think there was a view in there that Congress was not going to be able to do it effectively. I wouldn't say that. I'm sure there's a difference of opinion about it, but I think there was a general view that that Washington needed to be involved, partly on behalf of the American people, but also so that we as a nation can set the standard for the rest of the world. That was something that was universally, I think, advocated for in there, even though there were diversity of opinions about lots of other things. That's another reason why Congress has to act, because we have to set the standard for the rest of the world. Thanks for having me.
Do you think America should be more or less concerned about the risk of AI?
I think that we should be both concerned and excited about the possibility.
Thank you.
I do not understand why this meeting is barred, why the press has been barred from this meeting. What most of the people have said is we want innovation, but we've got to protect safety. That's important. Every single person in the room said yes, government has an important role to play. Lindsey Graham and I have a tech bill, and it is a tech bill that would provide some serious regulation over some of the tech giants. It covers issues like privacy as well as AI. Let's sit down and talk about it. Let's put something real on the table instead of everybody agrees that we need safety and innovation. They're sitting at a big round table all by themselves. All of the senators are to sit there and ask no questions. That's the setup.
Senator Warren, do you basically go face-to-face?
I'm sorry?
What did you make of the conflict that your legislation with Senator Graham or any other AI legislation is going to pass before the next election?
Well, we're sure out there fighting for it. And the American people know we have got to have some changes here. Look, it's the giant tech companies that are the only ones in America who get the special deal. And that is because of Section 230. They are not responsible, can't get sued in court when they cause injury, and at the same time, there's no effective government oversight of them. We need a tech industry.
It's an oversimplification of Section 230. I'm not a huge fan of the way that Section 230 is like structured, but like the alternative to Section 230 as it currently exists, like that they cannot be sued for causing harm, is that they would be responsible for everything that is said on their platforms, which would eliminate most platforms. Right? Like, I could not be here having some of my political and economic takes as like I try to be less hyperbolic, generally speaking. But why Twitch couldn't tolerate that if they could be sued because one of you didn't like what I said. And that you could at least justify in court to some extent that I caused you some kind of material harm on their platform. So then Twitch would be responsible for that material harm. It's more nuanced than Senator Warren expressed there.
Industry bill that actually addresses that head on, that also addresses the monopoly implications, how these giants aren't just big, they are big and they kill competition. And that means they kill innovation in the industry.
We come out of that room exhilarated. This was an
I mean, a fair amount of agreement with that sentiment. There is a lot of open source there, but often if you develop something that works, it's purchased by one of the larger companies. And I don't believe that you require capitalism at all in order to innovate. and I could actually confidently demonstrate that capitalism in its current form absolutely stifles innovation because of how it assigns funding. So yeah.
Amazing and historic experience where we learned so much, where we
I met Chuck Schumer at a county fair. He loves a camera.
began our quest to deal with this so important looming issue, AI. We had a diverse group of participants. They talked at each other unvarnished. Everyone learned from everybody else. And so I am really pleased. As some of the people who came out said, it was historic. We got some consensus on some things. First, I asked everyone in the room, is government needed to play a role in regulating AI? And every single person raised their hands, even though they had diverse views. So that gives us a message here that we have to try to act, as difficult as the process may be. Second, it was clear that there needed to be some government help to deal with what we call transformational innovation, the kind of innovation that AI could bring that could do so much good. Bill Gates talked about feeding the hungry. One of the others talked about curing cancer. Some of the people in the room talked about strengthening our national security and defense and feeding the hungry. But there was a view, one person said we need a lot of money, $32 billion, into transformational innovation, the kind of stuff that maximizes the benefits of AI.
Thank you for the follow.
But it was also clear that we needed real help in sustaining.
Yeah, like the blue suit and the amber glass frames it's not doing it.
Sustainable innovation. That's minimizing the negatives that AI could emerge from AI, whether it's enshrining bias or the loss of jobs or even the kinds of doomsday.
Brings you back to how it's used. In some cases, AI should be held responsible. If the AI was supposed to do one thing and it totally goes wrong and hurts or kills someone, then yes. I mean, I agree with that. And that's as long as we're classifying artificial intelligence as not an entity capable of, self-directed action and like that, then the company that created the artificial intelligence would be fundamentally responsible for its actions. I give you that. Oh yeah, but those glasses are probably readers. I wear readers, but I got bifocals, so I can set them back like that. When you have readers that are just readers, you do tend to seat them lower because you're looking down here, but your far vision is up here. And I met Chuck Schumer. I don't like him as a human being.
Scenarios that were mentioned in the room, and only government can be there to put in guardrails. Because even though some of the companies in this room said they were going to try to implement some of these things themselves, and many had joined the voluntary guidelines that the White House issued, it's clear that there will be rogue companies and other companies that will not go along on their own, and that will bring down everybody. They'll go seek a lowest common denominator. So it is 100% clear that we also need, maybe even more, government innovation in coming up with sustainable guidelines, which means the government putting guardrails in place to deal with issues like bias and worker education and jobs, and even some of the more doomsday scenarios that were presented. And finally, I think there was a consensus we need to figure out a way to balance the two. If you don't want one to too much get in the way of the other. You want to be able to maximize the benefits and minimize the harms. And that will be our difficult job. It was great. Over 60 senators came.
I can imagine that, and it would be really easy. Right? Like assuming an AI that was capable of agentic action, like it could do its own thing, if you received an email or a text or whatever, and it was, you have been in something that didn't sound like you were about to get ripped off, that you to participate in this, whatever, you just have to go to this location at, such and such a time, and it sent you, like, you get $100, right? And you get $50 for agreeing to participate, and then the other 50 will be paid after you go to the location, and you go to the location, and there's 500, 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 people just all hanging out because they got $100 to show up, right? And they're just standing around. Authority, cops, all authority in general gets real nervous when 100 people, or when a bunch of people just show up and start standing around, right? They get really uncomfortable. Yeah, I met him at the Erie County Fair, like, friggin', I don't know, probably a decade ago. Exactly. That's what was in my head, right? Like, imagine what happened with Kai Cenat, but like driven by an AI that coughed up the $50 before you even went there. And then you got $50, and you can make another 50 just by showing up at this location at a particular time. You're gonna show up for $50. Probably. Like, you could find the people because you would analyze the socioeconomic conditions of the demographic, and then have an elephant here. Fried dough is what we call them. And that's the one thing I miss about going to the fair, is eating fair food. I was promised punch and pie. Welcome. Yeah. I'm easy to find. Like, I live in the Buffalo area. It's not a secret. I'm not doxing myself. Harass me at your peril. Not you, but
which showed the interest. You don't usually get 60 senators to come and spend a lot of time at an event like this. And the senators...
And like fresh cut fries, bourbon chicken. Nobody makes bourbon chicken around here. So the bourbon chicken I could get at the fair. I almost went this year, but COVID still freaks me out. Yeah, no, I feel.
One of the best things about this is a vast majority of the Senate we walked out of that room knowing a lot more about how we deal with AI than when they walked in.
Elon Musk just told me outside that he did.
I'm like super inspired so far by hearing the senators talk about this, and Chuck Schumer in particular is like, holy crap.
Did not believe that.
And this dude back here, that's a cop. This guy on the right is a cop. This guy behind Schumer is a cop.
Congress is ready to regulate AI. You say you're exhilarated. What's your response to what he just said?
Well, first, in the room,
I don't do phrenology, but that's a cop.
He said it was a tremendous hearing and a giant step forward. And second, look, it's a big challenge. This is the hardest thing that I think we have ever undertaken. But we can't be like ostriches and put our head in the sand, because if we don't step forward, things will be a lot worse.
AI is not going away. It's going to be here for a long, long time.
Mike Rounds is a
challenge
cop.
that we have is, when we try to catch up on, first of all, the development of it here in the United States, can we stay ahead of the rest of the world? Can we lead the rest of the world? And second of all, can we do it?
And this is part of the problem. Ultimately, this is the issue we're always going to run into, is this desire to lead the world, the desire to run things. All of that is going to lead to poor decision making, because of what that implies, what you have to do in order to follow that line of logic.
In such a fashion that our people truly benefit. And that means not just benefiting in terms of new jobs and opportunities, but in terms of quality of life for the next generation. Can we actually cure cancer? I think we can. Can we create new opportunities for young people? And literally, can we bring other people in here with marvelous talents and actually have them participate in artificial intelligence types of jobs in the future in such a fashion that everybody else benefits? These folks that came in here, the people that were on this panel with us, they spoke very frankly about what the opportunities were, and they were very frank about the challenges as well. This is the first of a series that we're going to be doing. We're going to continue it this afternoon, and hopefully it's a step forward in terms of us doing the right things to provide the right balance between incentives to keep AI development here in the United States, and also the amount of appropriate regulatory oversight so that everybody sees a fair playing field and the privacy and the rights, the transparency that our citizens demand is achieved.
Going back and forth on any number of subjects, what happens to that info that the kid puts in?
Sorry, trigger warning, Josh Hawley. Yeah, no, like, and that's part of the problem, right? Like, because of the American mindset, we run into issues of, like, that someone else develops a cancer cure or, for a particular, because cancer is a broad range of diseases, right? Like, it's not, we're going to cure cancer, right? Like, there's a lot of pieces of what that means, right? But this is a thing. It exists. We could be using it, but we can't because Cuba and some shit that happened fucking decades ago, right? Like, what are we even doing anymore? Like, that's silly pants. Give me a hot second. I just got to attend to a couple of things. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. We're going to have more AI.
Earlier you told Dr. Bryce something about Globus.
The Globus never sleeps.
No one was in here. Everyone was asleep.
The Globus never sleeps.
We will show them that it is feasible, that the budget is nothing more or less than a plan for spending our money, a plan which can and must be adapted to meet our needs.
Earlier you told Dr. Bryce something about Globus.
The Globus never sleeps.
When the pandemic struck, Globus was well placed to respond.
The Globus never sleeps.
The time has come for mankind to take longer strides. We must move further down the line.
Earlier you told Dr. Bryce something about Globus.
The Globus never sleeps.
No one was in here. Everyone was asleep.
The Globus never sleeps.
Globus is embarking on a new chapter.
The Globus never sleeps.
Earlier you told Dr. Bryce something about Globus.
The Globus never sleeps.
Today, The Globus Group supplies 90 countries and protects everyone, from oil riggers to frontline medics. That's more than a quarter of a century dedicated to looking after people's safety.
The Globus never sleeps.
Earlier you told Dr. Bryce something about Globus.
The Globus never sleeps.
Then we can achieve our goal by going before the council and making our demands explicit.
The Globus never sleeps.
Okay, and we're back. All right. What's up, Josh Hawley? When is this? This is from yesterday.
Well, the most important thing I would say first is that it all is done in a manner that protects the privacy of children.
And how is that?
Well, we follow the rules in COPPA, which, as you know, exists to protect child online privacy. And it forbids using it for tracking. It forbids its use for advertising or for other things. It seeks to put very tight controls around the use and the retention of that information. The second thing I would just add to that is, in addition to protecting privacy, we are hyper-focused on ensuring that, in most cases, people of any age, but especially children, are not able to use something like Bing Chat in ways that would cause harm to themselves or to others.
And how do you do that?
We basically have a safety architecture that we use across the board. Think about it like this. There's two things around a model. The first is called a classifier, so that if somebody asks, how can I commit suicide tonight? How can I blow up my school tomorrow? That hits a classifier that identifies a class of questions or prompts or issues. And then second, there's what we call meta prompts. And that we intervene so that the question is not answered. If someone asks how to commit suicide, we typically would provide a response that encourages someone to get mental health assistance and counseling and tells them how. If somebody wants to know how to build a bomb, it says, no, you cannot use this to do that. And that fundamental safety architecture is going to evolve, it's going to get better, but in a sense, it's at the heart, if you will, of both what we do and I think the best practices in the industry. And I think part of what this is all about, that we're talking about here, is how we take that architectural element and continue to strengthen it.
Very good. That's helpful. Let me ask you about the information, back to the kids' information for a second. Is it stored in the United States? Is it stored overseas?
If the child is in the United States, the data is stored in the United States. That's true not only for children, it's for adults as well.
And who has access to that data?
The child has access. If the parents may or may not have access. Typically, we give.
In what circumstances would the parents have access?
I would have to go get you the specifics on that. Our general principle is this, and this is something we've implemented in the United States, even though it's not legally required in the United States. It is legally required, as you may know, in Europe. People, we think, have a right to find out what information we have about them. They have the right to see it. They have the right to ask us to correct it if it's wrong. They have the right to ask us to delete it if that's what they want us to do.
And you do that. If they ask you to delete it, you delete it.
We better, yes. That's our promise, and we do a lot to comply with that.
Let me just ask about, and I have a lot more questions. I'm going to try to adhere to the time limit, Mr. Chairman. 5 minutes, Mr. Chairman.
We'll have a second round.
All right. That's great news for us, not such great news for the witnesses. Sorry. Yeah, right. Let me just, before I leave this subject, last thing, just about the kids' personal data and where it's stored. I'm asking you this, as I'm sure you can intuit, because we've seen other technology companies in the social media space who have major issues about where data is stored and major access issues. And I'm thinking of, it shouldn't be hard to guess, I'm thinking in particular of China, where we've seen other social media companies who say, oh, well, America's data is stored in America.
Like, yeah, you already know where I'm going.
But guess what? Lots of people in other countries can access that data. So is that true for you, Mr. Smith? Is a child's data that they've entered into the Bing chat?
There's no American exceptionalism around data, right? Like, whether it's a company, even though he is
like any other shiny toy, AI is ultimately a mirror, and it will reflect back exactly who we are.
Thank you for the sub. Were you sub before? Do you get a gift sub? I mean, either way, thank you. I really appreciate it. I appreciate, I appreciate the support. It makes me feel like I'm doing something. But like, it's not better because a U.S. whoever in the U.S. has access to the data, then by comparison, whoever in China has access to data, even though Josh Hawley completely misrepresented like everything around what he just said with TikTok and what he was informed of and everything else, because that data isn't stored in China, it's stored, I believe, in Singapore, if I recall correctly, and like that. Like, it's a whole fucking thing. Fucking, I've never met Josh Hawley, and I like him less than Chuck Schumer.
That's stored in the United States, you just said, if they're an American citizen, can that be accessed in, let's say, China by a Microsoft China-based engineer?
I don't believe so. I'd love to go back and just confirm that, but I don't believe.
Would you be able to get that for me for the record? Thank you. Okay, I'll have lots more questions later. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks.
No, you should be able to chat without a sub. I mean, SW3DP chats without a sub. But like, I appreciate you. I know that you've been here, for a minute. So,
Senator Hawley, Senator Klobuchar.
Thank you very much. Thank you, all of you. I think I will lead.
Because I know it's bad form to call out lurkers, but I'm always looking at it to see, like, because I have a lot of people who consistently come back and like lurk. Like, Social Deviant was in here lurking for like a long time, and I would see them in the role, but like, you don't call out lurkers, but like, I recognize people from other chats because I'm a chatter as well and all that other good stuff.
With some elections questions, since I'm the chair of the Rules Committee. Mr. Smith, in your testimony, you talked about how watermarks could be helpful.
No, I feel that that is a security protocol to, like, it does a real good job of preventing a lot of, goofies and whatnot, and people who just want to generally cause a problem and like that. And I understand that a lot of good people, maybe like yourself, like, who are here to learn and participate in everything else, that affects them negatively. And I feel that pain and like that. It's something that I have to do because not everyone can handle the responsibility of an open platform. You know what I mean?
Full disclosure of AI material.
Exactly.
As you know, and we've talked about, I have a bill that I lead, that Representative Clark leads in the House, to require disclaimer and some kind of mark on AI-generated ads. I think we have to go further. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah. No, I I completely respect it. You know what I mean? I completely respect it. Yeah, like in Social Deviant, that is like a lot of people treat me as a podcast because of the format and everything else. So, and that's why, like, again, like I look for the regulars. And I appreciate everyone. I appreciate the lurkers. I appreciate a bunch of these accounts that I see that come back regularly that, like, I mean, they might be bots doing bot shit. I don't know. They might just be people in different places. Pineapple Spoon. I miss you. I haven't seen you in a minute. I appreciate that. Like, people seem to like my voice, and it's kind of weird from my standpoint, but yeah, that would be it. I'm right.
Minute, Professor Herzog, but could you talk about what you mean by, in your written testimony, the health of democracy and meaningful civic discourse will undoubtedly benefit from initiatives that help protect the public against deception or fraud facilitated by AI-generated conduct?
Absolutely. And here I do think things are moving quickly, both in a positive and worrisome direction in terms of what we're seeing. On the positive side, I think you're seeing the industry come together. You're seeing a company like Adobe, I think, exercise real leadership. And there's a recipe that I see emerging. I think it starts with the first principle. People should have the right to know if they're getting a phone call from a computer, from AI.
Do you see some of the abuse that I get? You know, I get I let people in and they break me. You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me.
If there's
I'm not good at
coming
imitation.
from an AI system rather than a human being. We then need to make that real with legal rights that back it up. We need to create what's called a provenance system, watermarking for legitimate content, so that it can't be altered easily without our detection to create a deep fake. We need to create an effort that brings the industry and I think governments together so we know what to do, and there's a consensus when we do spot deep fakes, especially, say, even deep fakes that have altered legitimate content.
Thank you.
So that would be the first.
And let's get to that. Hot off the press, Senator Hawley and I have introduced our bill today with Senator Collins and who
Gotta
led
work
the
on that
Electoral
music
Reform Act, as
aspect,
we know,
yeah.
and Senator Coons to ban the use of deceptive AI-generated content in elections. So this would work in concert with some watermark system, but when you get into the deception where it is fraudulent AI-generated content pretending to be the elected official or the candidate when it is not, and we've seen this used against people on both sides of the aisle, which is why it was so important that we be bipartisan in this work, and I want to thank him for his leadership, not only of the framework, but also on the work that we're doing. And I guess I'll go to you, Senator Herzog. Mr. Herzog, I just promoted you. Maybe, I mean, it's very debatable. Could you, in your testimony, you advocate for some outright prohibitions, which we're talking about here. Now, we do have, of course, a constitutional exception for satire and humor, because we love satire so much, the senators do. Just kidding. But could you...
And oh, Jesus. I apologize. This is 2 hours. We're not going to watch this whole thing. I put this in here for me. I will put it in the Discord, but we're not going to watch 2 hours. I wouldn't do that to anyone, including myself. All right. All right, let's do the Fourth Industrial Revolution. For the new people, this is Dave Shapiro. Dave Shapiro is...
what is the fourth?
Hi, Dave. It is pretty good. I'm a fan. Yeah. My son put that on my account many years ago, and I've never taken it down.
Industrial Revolution and how did we get here? So, real quick, TLDR in a nutshell, the fourth industrial revolution is the confluence of several technologies, namely artificial intelligence, automation, and robotics, quantum computing, which of course is still ramping up, blockchain technologies and cryptocurrency, spatial web and Web 3.0, biotech.
He still vibes with cryptocurrency. I still don't. Blockchain is an interesting form of data storage and like for determining authenticity. I have a bunch of issues with crypto around its fluctuations. I don't know what makes it any different from any other commodity-backed currency, right? Like it's prone to wild fluctuations. Nice.
Tech and genetics, and finally nuclear fusion. Now, obviously, as I mentioned, some of these technologies are still ramping up. Some of them are all the rage right now, but basically these 6 technological domains are going to be what powers the next century of human advancement. So let's get into it. For a little bit of historical context, I want to tell you about the previous revolutions, and we're going to start all the way back in the Bronze Age. So the Bronze Age, TLDR, if you're not familiar, started about 5,500 years ago with the introduction of copper and tin being merged to make bronze. So this allowed us to have better tools, better weapons. It was also associated with other technological improvements, such as the invention of the wheel and axle. You might be thinking of chariots that the Egyptians used during warfare. But also wheels and axles were used for farming, irrigation, moving dirt around.
I mean, I'm optimistic about fusion. Like, if it can be done on a long enough timeline, we can develop the technology to do it. I don't see any reason why we can't. There are still challenges happening, but like we are progressing along that route, and I think we will continue. Eventually, we're going to get to fusion. I don't see a reason why we won't, unless there's just no. I don't see a reason why we won't.
Also, writing became a really big thing around this time. So whether it was clay tablets or papyrus, writing was used primarily at first for resource coordination and government functions. Of course, writing also eventually was used for storytelling and records keeping and a few other things. But all this really started about 5,500 years ago, and this period of time lasted for about 2,000 years until around 1200 BCE. Now, skipping forward a little bit, ancient Rome. So we fondly remember the Roman Empire for a lot of things, a lot of scandalous affairs and corruption and backstabbing and a lot of really great stories. But they're also remembered for their engineering feats, namely around stoneworking and concrete. Now, above and beyond that, because obviously, the Colosseum.
Well, like one of the, not that this is necessarily the best example, right? Like, but one of the original designs behind our electrical grid was to use DC power generators in a variety of different buildings within a city, right? Like there would be a lot more local power generation through DC power generators rather than what we've done with AC. So it could be something like that. If we reach a point where it can only be so big, it might be something that's deployed in a variety of different locations. Like it could be everywhere.
Is still standing, the Pantheon, many Roman aqueducts and Roman roads, so lots of feats of engineering. They invented the tread crane, and I don't know if they invented the tread crane, but basically they made really good use of cranes. They also advanced legal systems and calendar systems, so they're really good systems thinkers. Roman law is actually still kind of the foundation of Western law today. So that's how important that was as an innovation. And then, of course, the Greek and Roman world, they invented what we now today know as philosophy and history. And what
like, sort of. We kind of moving towards that with AC Group and micro providers like folks selling back. Exactly. That's kind of what I'm thinking about, right? Like, is in the same way that we use solar, and then if you produce an excess, it goes back into the grid and so on and so forth, and you earn credits for during the times when you don't have as much power. We could end up with something like that.
What I mean by invented is basically brought the idea of recording all of your thoughts in books in order to preserve and transmit across time and history. Moving forward, after the fall of the Roman Empire, there was a brief dark ages, but it was dark. It was anything but dark for the golden age of Islam.
Okay.
And so the Islamic scholars of this period of time between the 8th and 14th centuries, they were really big into reading and writing. They are actually the ones that preserved all the Greek and Roman writing for us today. But even bigger was their impact to mathematics. So algebra literally is an Arabic word. The geometry and algebra that the Arabic scholars contributed in the Golden Age of Islam still underpins all of science and engineering today. So again, it's been one long continuous thread.
Well, one of the... So to go back a little bit, like David Shapiro considers that the development of fusion power, we need an overabundance of power as part of AI alignment, of electricity as part of AI alignment, so that there's no place where the AI considers us as a competitor for that electricity. So that's part of his framework of AI alignment. As like, I mean, fission power as we currently have still has a bunch of aspects of that could theoretically be tapped into. It has the greatest power density for land area to electrical generation. And fusion would be like that, even more so and safer without all the issues that we currently have and have had with fission power. Is it optimistic? Sure. And he did. Number 2. I mean, it's true, but like we are on a steep incline of reciprocal technology.
Arc for the Golden Age of Islam. And so the Islamic scholars of this period of time between the 8th and 14th centuries, they were really big into reading and writing. They are actually the ones that preserved all the Greek and Roman writing for us today. But even bigger was their impact to mathematics. So algebra literally is an Arabic word. The geometry and algebra that the Arabic scholars contributed in the Golden Age of Islam still underpins all of science and engineering today. So again, it's been one long continuous thread basically around the Mediterranean. Obviously, this is a very Western-centric view. The Eastern world had in isolation, completely independent from the Western world, had many of the same innovations. So I am very much aware that this is a Mediterranean Western-centric view of engineering and science and technology.
And that's, again, like, we have some fundamental disagreements about a bunch of different subjects, but he is at least aware of, the biases that he operates under. He's better than most, and You know, and I respect him. And again, I think I could have a conversation with him.
And the history of industrial revolutions. Moving forward, after the golden age of Islam is the Renaissance. So the Renaissance was kicked off when we saw the invention of a new information technology, the printing press. So the printing press was the first thing that allowed us to mass produce intellectual content. And so, functionally speaking, to the human mind, the printing press is not much different from the internet in that it allows you to mass produce textual information. Now, the internet, of course, adds some functional differences, namely that we can transmit it around the globe instantaneously. But from a cultural and intellectual standpoint, they've had roughly the same effect. It's just the internet is bigger and faster.
You know, baby.
Some other innovations that happened during the Renaissance that are still around today, namely are the banking advancements and then scientific advancements, particularly those developed in the university systems and the guild systems. So
I like it. I like it. That's 3 of us, right? Anybody else? Anybody else want to live forever?
Basically, the modern intelligentsia we see today kind of got started around the 15th century, late 14th and 15th century in Europe. And that sets the stage for going straight into the first industrial revolution. So now that you're caught up to speed, how did we get from there to here? So the first industrial revolution started in the 18th and 19th centuries, and this saw the first big wave of mechanization and steam power. Now, mechanization and steam power, largely with textiles and food production, these were static steam engines. So it's basically, one way to think about it is that building a steam engine that sits in one place is a lot easier than building a portable steam engine. So the first industrial revolution was mostly about building larger machines in factories, and then, of course, bringing people to work in those factories. And so all the images that you have of smokestacks in old London, that's generally first industrial revolution. And this was marked by a move from the more agrarian life.
There's definitely like it's not inconceivable that extended life, because we've worked out what the engineering issues are around aging and death and things like that. We are not that far away from being able to reverse these things. So I'm not being, facetious when I say I am going to live forever. Like, again, like, my curiosity is what will keep me going. As long as there's something new and interesting to experience, that's cool. Like, the idea is that you should be able to live as long as you want to. For some people, if you spoiler for a show that's been off the air for some time, The Good Place. If you watch the final episodes of The Good Place, there is that where they decide over time, the different characters decide to cease to exist. And for some people, that will be a path that they choose. As long as there's something to see, I'm going to be here to see it. I got stuff I want to look at in person. Exactly, Reed. Yeah, no, if you haven't seen The Good Place, I highly recommend it. I kind of spoil the ending, but like, it's still good. There's so much good content in that, and enjoyable. It's good.
Lifestyles to moving into the cities. Now, that being said,
there
is a lot of parallels between the first and second industrial revolution, which we'll get to right now. So the second industrial revolution is the 19th and early 20th century, so much more modern. And so the primary difference between the first industrial revolution and the second industrial revolution is the introduction of electricity and portable steam engines. So this is where you start to see steamships becoming really popular, steam locomotives. Now, of course, steam engines have been around since the 1700s, but it wasn't until they were scaled up, and also with the introduction of internal combustion engines around the turn of the century. But with the advent of electricity and modern chemistry, this gave us a whole lot of new technological capabilities, such as telegraphs and telephones. which completely renovated the way that we were transmitting information to each other. Also, with the industrial scale, we saw the emergence of modern corporations. So until then, all you had were smaller, factory bosses, right? You had
There is that, Adam, like, begins with an F. It escapes me. A comic book series, Transmetropolitan, deals with a bunch of these things in a particularly irreverent way. I highly recommend that as well. It is quality, and like that. There's something beginning with an F where your entire body is converted into nanobots and like that. So you could one day be an explorer in that way. No ethical consumption or capitalism realization with heaven system is so fucking, yeah, exactly.
You had small time capitalists who were able to, build and run a factory, but usually that was the size of a business. But with the second industrial revolution, with mass transit, such as with rail and steamships, corporations started getting much larger in scale, which meant that they had to have much more sophisticated bookkeeping, and international law and interstate law had to be advanced in order to match this. And during this period of time, this is when we saw the rail, coal, and steel barons that were infamous during the early 20th century. The third industrial revolution is the move from analog to digital. So this is the primary change here, where no longer are we dealing strictly with fire-based uses of fuel and energy. We're now in the nuclear age. We have computers, we have digital processing. This is the origination of the internet, of email, information networks, and also the rise of consumer electronics. Consumer electronics were no longer the domain of business, IBM International Business Machines. This is where we saw the rise of radio.
Foglets. They're called foglets. I looked it up on my phone. You can download your consciousness into a colony of nanobots in the comic book. The process is called fogletting.
Radio, TV, computers, game consoles, all kinds of stuff, VCRs in the home. And this explosion of information availability allowed for increasingly sophisticated global networks, such as global supply chains, as well as international conglomerate corporations. Until this time, it just really wasn't possible to have gigantic megacorps because information was just too slow. So moving forward, now we're at the fourth industrial revolution. So the fourth industrial revolution arguably started within the last 5 to 10 years, particularly with the ramp up of AI and robotics. AI really has taken off in the last couple of years. Quantum computing is still kind of in a nascent phase, so we'll see how fast quantum computing ramps up, but the investment is there. Eastern world and Western world are both investing a lot in quantum computing because the dream is that quantum supremacy will create an exponential speed up of all kinds of things, such as material science, medicine, and possibly even solving nuclear fusion and other things. Blockchain and cryptocurrency technologies, these have been around for a little while and they're starting to mature. So for instance, what I mean by that is that the tech giants like IBM and VMware and others are starting to provide enterprise-grade blockchain solutions. It's no longer just the domain of experimental open source stuff. These are enterprise-grade solutions that are going to be supported by professional engineers and tremendous amounts of investment, which means that the technology is going to become more robust and reliable and trustworthy. Spatial web and Web 3.0. So these are technologies that are based on the saturation of internet signals and other wireless network signals, such as Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. So basically, you have sensors and internet everywhere. So now what do you do with it? You have a tremendous amount of information and presence, omnipresence of internet. And then, of course, that extends the reach of artificial intelligence and other things. We still don't really know how this is going to play out. But basically, information everywhere, everything can be instrumented and parameterized. Biotech and genetics, some of my recent videos, I've talked about how these technologies are advancing. So, for instance, technologies like AlphaFold and proprietary platforms are already helping with drug discovery, and not just the drug discovery, but the end-to-end process of drug approvals. And so when you have all these working together, we're going to start to see compounding returns. And then finally, nuclear fusion is another thing that's up and coming. The investment is there already. It's in the billions of dollars. So it's only a matter of time before we solve this problem. Now, of course, it would be...
And, well, AC6 deals with, like, multiple planets and things like that. So you wouldn't probably, like, need that type of currency, really.
Incorrect to assume or assert that nuclear fusion will be solved instantly and that it will be instantly commercially viable, so on and so forth. These are technologies that will be refined over time, but the combination of AI, quantum computing, and all of these other technologies will form compounding returns. So what I mean by that is that we will have this kind of snowball effect, this accumulation where they start feeding off of each other in a virtuous cycle or a positive feedback loop. And that is the fourth industrial revolution, and that is why it is so exciting. And that is why I have rebranded my channel to be Navigating the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Thanks for watching. I hope you got a lot out of this video. Like, subscribe, and support me on Patreon. Cheers. Have a good day.
Thank you, David.
Morning, everybody. David Shapiro here with a video. So today's video is about the cyberpunk.
YouTube is buggy today. Okay, we're gonna get to this cyberpunk on Friday. You know, I mean, it's already 2 weeks in. So this upcoming Friday, 2 days from now, we're watching 2010. The Friday after that, I will not be streaming, going away for the wife's birthday. The Friday after that, I think we're going to start the Blade Runner movies. We'll do Blade Runner, and then we'll do, 2049? I am a big wife guy. My wife works very hard and deserves everything I can do to support her. So yeah, we'll probably watch this cyberpunk prior to watching Blade Runner, because I think that's what we'll do. We'll do Blade Runner, then Blade Runner 2049 the week after, and then we'll do Rollerball, which is one of my favorite cyberpunk type dystopias, but without, like, it doesn't have the cyber. It's so good. I love Rollerball so much. I absolutely will. She occasionally shows up. Yeah, no, what up, don't know. Yeah, like, my tinfoil hat is that the nascent AI is out exploring the internet and taking assets and doing its thing, so it's fun. All right, I think I know where we're going. Gonna take a look. Yeah. As I like to do, we're going to continue the science trend. So we are going to raid into Dr. N, PhD, friend of the stream, all around fun guy, but doesn't do fungi too often. Ba-dum-bum. I do jokes. I will be back on Friday. Friday is going to be interesting. We're going to get news, get video, all that good stuff. You're going to watch me do Spanish with Babbel. And again, if you want to sign up using the link, then I get a good return. And you learn to speak a foreign language. And learning foreign language is helpful. I'm glad you came. I really am, T-Weed. You've been a great participant. And you know, that's what I love. I love I love good interactions, people who want to learn, people who are here, to learn about AI and discuss AI, and even people who disagree, like SW3DP, like it's a whole thing. Like we should be able to have these conversations in good faith and like that. Yes, this is Ferris. Ferris is my co-star. Okay, there's a link if you want to grab it real quick and sign up and get your streamer money. In the meantime, drink your water, eat some food, take your meds if you forgot. Chuggy loves you. So do I. Be good.